Chapter 147. A few days later, the Scarlet Plain was still blood-red. What's going on? Why aren't the two races fighting yet? Are they here to play house? Feng Zi yawned continuously as she looked at the quiet barbarians and demons in the distance. Hua Zi was also listless. She wanted to watch a good show, but the Scarlet Plain was quiet for a few days. It was as if hundreds of thousands of people were here to admire the moon. Yes, should I send someone to cause trouble? Let them fight? Don't waste your energy. Although there are many idiots in the demon and barbarians, there are still smart ones. They probably guessed our intentions and didn't dare to make a move. It's okay. Let's just wait and see. In a few days, they'll be anxious. If we can't do it, we'll occupy the Death God's territory and let them take the Underworld God's territory. Yi Qinghan said lazily, with a blood-red grass in his mouth. On the right, Yi Qingwu saw Yi Qinghan holding a blood-red grass in his mouth. She frowned awkwardly and said, "Little Han, can you not always hold a grass in your mouth? It looks disgusting." Air. Yi Qinghan touched his nose embarrassedly and spat out the grass. He thought to himself, "Sister Xiao Wu, don't always call me Little Han. No matter what, I'm an expert now." Moreover, this form of address often reminded him of the pale-faced, beardless eunuchs in the imperial palace in his previous life. Sigh. I'm not watching anymore. I'm going back to cultivate. Feng Zi and Hua Zi looked at each other and returned to the camp dejectedly. They were both defeated by Yi Qinghan. If they didn't cultivate harder, they might not even be able to raise their heads in front of Yi Qinghan. And I'm going back too. You can watch slowly here. Yi Qingwu looked at Yi Qinghan as well. An indescribable emotion flashed through her eyes. She also went back to cultivate. Her only advantage now was her battle aura, which was slightly stronger than Yi Qinghan's. She was afraid that if she didn't work hard, she would lose this advantage. What? At the border of the three prefectures, in the high and mighty divine city, Tu Qianjun had just ended a few months of closed-door cultivation and successfully broke through to the second level of the Marquis realm. He was originally in a good mood, but he didn't expect to receive such a bad news the moment he came out of his closed-door cultivation. His face immediately turned cloudy. Are you sure? That lowly bastard could actually fight against 10,000 by himself? He actually managed to force the demon race and barbarian race to surrender, instantly killing Yao Kaka. He could instantly kill a peak-level demon emperor or barbarian emperor. Impossible? How could there be such a perverted skill? This has almost reached the might of a divine skill. This doesn't make sense. Tu Qianjun lowered his head. His eyes were flickering unceasingly. His handsome face was slightly distorted. Reporting to young master, the news has been confirmed. We asked around, and the current situation of the Netherworld Island can prove what happened at Duanren Peak. Now, we shouldn't doubt Yi Qinghan's strength and that perverted body fusion technique that is almost equivalent to a divine skill. The most important thing for us now is how to deal with the aftermath. The House of Ares definitely knows that young master sent people to attack them, and the demon race definitely won't let the matter rest after the death of the son of the demon race's Saint Venerable. The barbarian god will probably cause a ruckus. This is troublesome. In front of Tu Qianjun was still the golden-robed elder. His face couldn't be seen clearly, but his voice sounded very old. Damn it, how did things turn out like this? Tu Qianjun suddenly came to a realization after being reminded by his subordinate. His face looked even worse. The demon race probably wouldn't let the matter rest after Yao Xie's son died. The barbarian race was a one-track mind and would probably take the opportunity to cause trouble. Not to mention the House of Ares. The successors of the major clans almost all died. If those old fellows didn't jump out, nobody would believe it. He wasn't afraid if the three residences wanted to cause trouble. Under the supreme prestige of the divine city, those old fellows probably wouldn't dare to do anything to him. However, if this matter were to spread in the divine city, and if the Lord God knew about it, he would definitely die without a complete corpse. Even his father would be implicated. Thinking about the cold eyes of that skinny man, the supreme pressure from his every move, and the decisive killing methods of the Lord God, Tu Qianjun couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. His back was drenched in sweat, and he didn't know what to do. Young master, this matter we still have to ask the god-slaying guards to take action. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. The old elder reminded again. Yes, I'll look for my father. He will definitely have a way. Tu Qianjuan's eyes suddenly lit up. Thinking about his father, who was like a mountain that would never fall, he walked out full of confidence and headed towards the immortal slaughtering tower. The immortal slaughtering tower wasn't a tower, but a huge courtyard. Other than the incomparably powerful god-slaying guard in the Lord God residence, there were 4 great god-slaying guards in the divine city. They were the god-slaying guards, god-slaying guards, god-slaying guards, and god-burning guards. The god-slaying guards resided in the immortal slaughtering tower. At this moment, in a study room in the immortal slaughtering tower, Tu Qianjun was shyly kneeling in front of a tall and majestic brown-haired man. As for the brown-haired man, his head was lowered as he read the book in his hands. He didn't even look at Tu Qianjun, who was kneeling on the ground. It was as if he didn't notice or hear anything. After a long time, the brown-haired man finally put down the book in his hands and sighed deeply. He turned his head and said, "Get up. Since you knew to look for me when something happened, at least you aren't completely stupid." Tu Qianjun hurriedly stood up and wiped the cold sweat off his face. Looking at his calm father in front of him, he opened his mouth wide in astonishment and said, "F.A. Father, you already know about it?" The massacre god guard glanced at Tu Qianjun indifferently and stood up with his hands behind his back. He said proudly, "Do you know what you did wrong?" The indifferent glance from the massacre god guard made Tu Qianjun feel as if his heart was heavily struck by someone. He felt suffocated and his chest felt stuffy. After taking 2 deep breaths, his expression became even more bashful. He carefully said, "Qianjun knows his mistake. I shouldn't have sent people to ask Yao Kaka and Broodgon to kill Yi Qing'an. I have violated the rules set by the Divine Master and made things difficult for you, father." Idiot! The massacre god guard didn't wait for Tu Qianjun to continue speaking. He suddenly turned his head and scolded, "I have been wise my whole life. How did I give birth to such a stupid fellow?" "Father, please tell me." The massacre god guard scolded angrily. Tu Qianjuan's expression immediately changed. When he was young, he had done something stupid. His father had dropped him on a tree for more than 10 days. That experience made him extremely fearful whenever he faced the massacre god guard. Now that the massacre god guard suddenly became angry, he hurriedly knelt down again and lowered his head, not daring to say anything else. "You sent people to kill a Yi family's young master. Although you were wrong, I don't blame you for being hot-blooded and aggressive. It's just that you are an idiot. You killed a general realm trash. Can't you just secretly send people to assassinate him? Do you have to make it so complicated? Is your brain filled with *T? It's just a small matter, but after you did it, it became even more complicated. Yao Kako is dead, and Broodgon lost a finger. Most importantly, you are an idiot. You actually told Broodgon, Yao Kaka, and that Shui woman? You were the one who asked them to do it. You even said that if the matter was successful, you, Tu Qianjun, would owe them a favor? Is your favor very impressive? Without me, you are nothing? Idiot, you are so infuriating." Chapter 148. The more the massacre god guard scolded, the angrier he got. He wanted to slap Tu Qianjun, who was on the ground, a few times. He didn't know about this at first, but after the incident at Duanren Peak, he found out. When he found out that the monster race and barbarian race had allied together, he couldn't help but be interested and sent people to investigate. He didn't expect to find out that this was done by his idiot son. He couldn't help but fly into a rage and almost dragged Tu Qianjun out of his seclusion to give him a good beating. However, after thinking about it, he decided to wait and see if his son would be so stupid that he would come to him to clean up the mess. Looking at Tu Qianjun kneeling on the ground in fear and trepidation, the massacre god guard sighed. He was filled with helplessness. This matter was really King awesome. Killing a person was a small matter, but he actually allied with the 2 manners and even planted a spy in the House of Ares. Furthermore, this matter didn't succeed. Instead, It allowed Yi Qinghan's strength to increase greatly and obtained a skill that even the Massacre God Guard was suspicious of. All right, forget about this. However, he didn't expect Tu Qianjun, this idiot, to not only leave behind 2 treasures made by the Divine City as evidence, but he also told Yao Kaka and Man Gong that this was his intention. Now that Yao Kaka was dead, Yao Xie would definitely find out. That barbarian god would definitely take the opportunity to rob them. As for the House of Ares, they would probably be waiting for an opportunity to cause a huge ruckus. Then, Father, what should we do? If this matter gets out of hand, the Divine Master will definitely kill me when he returns. The more Tu Qianjun heard, the more flustered he became. Thinking about the terrifying methods of that powerful man in the Divine Master Mansion, his heart turned cold and his limbs trembled. Useless trash. You haven't even learned 1/10 of my bearing and 1/100th of my intelligence. You must be calm in everything. Even if the Divine Mountain is pressing down on you, you won't change your expression. The Massacre God Guard shook his head and sighed. It was as if he was considered calm when his expression changed. He picked up the tea on the table and took a sip before saying again, "It's just a small matter, and you're already this scared? What achievements will you have in the future? This matter can be considered big or small. The main thing is that you left behind your name and evidence. Otherwise, nothing would have happened. Listen, I'll make some arrangements later. First, tie up the messenger. Then, tie up the Emperor Realm martial artist from the War God Manor who betrayed us as well. Cripple his cultivation and break his meridians. Make sure that after the prefecture battle ends, when the soldiers from the 3 manors teleport to the Divine City, they'll still be alive, but they won't be able to speak. Second, tell Yao Xie that his son was killed and wants revenge. Yao Divine City Overlord. Yao 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 Lord. That Yao God. Xie person. God. Yao person. Demon God. God was. God. Long Yao person on. Xie person and he Yao Xing. Long God. Third dragon. And he Jun. After he 2 and 2 God Xie 2 Lord. 2 of 2 person and 2 T. 2 Yao 2 after the God. Tuesday. After listening to the God Massacre Guard's words, Tu Qianjun finally understood his father's arrangement. He couldn't help but admire the God Massacre Guard. The first reason was probably to arrange for 2 scapegoats to replace Tu Qianjun in dealing with the questions and disturbances from the 3 prefectures. The second reason was that Yi Qinghan's strength had advanced too quickly and was too terrifying. Moreover, he was definitely being targeted by Yi Qinghan. His father wanted to kill him with a borrowed knife and completely eliminate Yi Qinghan. Moreover, he wanted to borrow the knife openly and righteously. Third, since his father knew what he had done, the God Massacre Guard would definitely know. The reason why the God Massacre Guard didn't send anyone to arrest him was probably because of his father. If Tu Qianjun took the initiative to ask for forgiveness, the God Massacre Guard would definitely not kill him. After thinking through everything, Tu Qianjun's body relaxed. He couldn't help but admire the God Massacre Guard who was sitting at the side of the table and continuing to read. It was such a complicated matter, but the God Massacre Guard was able to settle everything with just a few simple words. The older, the wiser. Tu Qianjun didn't say anything else. He knelt down again and bowed deeply. He turned around and walked out. Humph. At least he isn't that stupid. The God Massacre Guard looked at Tu Qianjun's back and shook his head. Suddenly, he shouted again, "Someone, go and investigate Yi Qinghan's body fusion." Such a terrifying technique shouldn't appear in the Fire Dragon dimension. What kind of secret is it hiding? As the God Massacre Guard shouted, a golden-robed man suddenly appeared. He didn't say anything and only cupped his hands at the God Massacre Guard. After listening to him, he quickly disappeared. Hades Island. The Scarlet Plains were still as red as blood. However, the people from the 3 races couldn't stay quiet anymore. It was as if there was a bloodthirsty feeling hidden under the endless red grass on the Scarlet Plains. It was as if they couldn't help but have the urge to kill. Half a month later, the barbarian race was the first to be unable to endure the commotion. They sent someone to talk to Yi Qinghan face to face. After receiving a positive reply from Yi Qinghan, Man Gong waved his palm that only had 4 fingers and ordered the barbarian army to advance, directly towards the Death God's camp. When they approached the Death God's camp cautiously, they realized that the House of Ares really hadn't moved. The barbarian god residents immediately led their army to occupy the Death God's camp. Then they quickly set up their defenses. Their speed was so fast that it was as if a man who had an affair was discovered. As for the demon race's seductive demon sovereign of the fox race, he only smiled faintly and didn't think much of it. He ordered them to stay put and observe the situation. However, a day passed. The House of Ares continued to sleep, boast, and flirt. They didn't seem to have any intention of attacking the Death God's camp. 3 days passed, 5 days passed, 10 days passed. When there were still 5 days left before the end of the final battle, the House of Ares still hadn't moved. The demon sovereign of the fox race was completely dumbfounded. Finally, he couldn't resist the restlessness of his subordinates and decided to attack the Death God's camp. Kill. The demon sovereign of the fox race let out a delicate roar, and the demon race army rushed towards the Death God's camp in a frenzy. They were densely packed like a swarm of bees. Of course, Mangon wouldn't do it. They had been guarding the camp for 10 days. How could they lose the camp that they had painstakingly occupied? Hence, with bloodshot eyes, he ordered them to kill with all their might. They had to hold on for 5 days. Those who were sleeping at the House of Ares were all woken up. Those who were boasting stopped boasting, and those who were flirting stopped flirting. They gathered around the Death God's camp and began to watch the show. TSK. That demon sovereign of the fox race has such a good figure. Look at those breasts, look at those buttocks. If she could do it for me, I'd be willing to live 10 years less. Look, that demon sovereign of the snake race is too ferocious. In the blink of an eye, she poisoned at least a few hundred barbarians to death. The barbarians have actually begun to burn their brute force. Mangon has paid a lot this time. The demon race is so ferocious. The barbarians are just standing there and getting beaten. It seems that they won't be able to hold on for long. Chapter 149. The barbarians could not hold on for long. In just one day, the barbarians could not withstand the demon race's bombardment and retreated helplessly. It could not be said that the barbarians were weak, nor could it be said that the warriors of the barbarians were not strong. It was just that no matter how strong they were, they could only stay where they were and bitterly defend their position. It would probably be difficult to defend against the bombardment from all directions. Mangon's face darkened. Looking at the heavy casualties of the barbarians, he helplessly waved his left hand that only had 4 fingers in order to retreat. The demon race was also very cooperative. When the demon race was ready to break out, they very politely opened up a path for the barbarians to retreat smoothly. However, after the demon race occupied the position, they just rested for a night and were only happy for a night. The next day, Mangon led his team again, but it seemed that his team had shrunk a lot. There were only about 10,000 people, but these 10,000 people were all tall and mighty. They were extremely fierce, and they were led by the few barbarian emperors of the barbarian race. Charge! Mangon roared, and a gentle yellow light bloomed from his body. The other barbarian emperors also flashed with yellow light at the same time. More than 10,000 people were divided into several groups and followed Mangon and the barbarian emperors. They sped up crazily and rushed straight towards the main force of the demon race like a battering ram. Bang! The barbarian race's strong defense, led by the invincible barbarian emperors, was like a huge battering ram that ran over the main force of the demon race, leaving behind demon corpses that were trampled beyond recognition. The demon race was helpless against the barbarian race's brutal attack. In a short period of time, their high-level warriors did not have the time to harm a large number of barbarian soldiers, and low-level warriors could not break through the elite team formed by Mangon at all. After a few rounds of attacks, the barbarian race lost 1,000 to 2,000 huge corpses, while the low-level demon race soldiers were either dead or injured. At least 10,000 to 20,000 died. In comparison, the casualties were 1 to 10. Seeing that Mangon waved his hand again and was about to attack again, the demon royal of the Fox clan had no choice but to give the order to retreat. If they continued to attack, The low-level soldiers of the demon clan would all be trampled to death. They had no choice but to retreat for the time being. And when the barbarian race and the other demon race retreated, the ordinary barbarians behind them hurriedly followed and entered the death god's position. It's too tragic. This death god formation is worthy of its name. It's simply a meat grinder. In just 2 days, tens of thousands of demon race and barbarian race have died. Yi Qinghan looked at the triangular formation on the left, his emotions complicated. It was the first time he had seen such a tragic scene. Although he had killed a lot of people at the foot of Duanren Peak, he didn't have such a strong visual experience. Looking at those ordinary demon clan and barbarian clan soldiers, one by one, under the saber and under the impact of the energy, they became cold corpses on the ground. Then, after the war ended, they were gathered together and cremated. In the end, they turned into dust that was blown by the wind and scattered around the blood plains. The blood-red triangle in the middle became redder and redder because of the blood of tens of thousands of people. It was like the bright red smear of his sister, Yi Qingyu, on the white wall of the Yi family's courtyard. It was so shocking. There were only Feng Zi and Hua Ji at the side. Yu Qingsheng and Yi Qingwu couldn't stand the tragic scene, so they hid in the tent in the middle of the camp. There's a prefecture battle every 30 years. Every 30 years, a generation will grow up and learn martial arts. Then, they will rush here. In the end, most of them will spill their blood here and become the nutrients for the blood grass on the blood plains. This seems to be a reincarnation, an endless reincarnation. Hua Ji stood at the side quietly. Her eyes were a little blurry, a little sad. Feng Zi also touched her nose and said embarrassedly, "The bigger the battle, the greater the hatred. The more hatred, the more we have to fight. This is also a reincarnation. This is the fate of the fire dragon continent." Yi Qinghan sighed softly and looked up at the sky. He seemed to be looking for the giant hand in the sky that controlled the fate of the fire dragon continent. However, the sky was gloomy, and the wind was neither light nor light. The massacre was still going on. People were still dying. The monster race and the barbarian race became braver and fiercer as they killed. The more they killed, the redder their eyes became. They seemed to have turned into two bloodthirsty beasts. They bit each other, not caring about their own injuries. They tried to defeat the other party in the end, even if they only had one soldier left. There were no eternal friends or enemies in the world. There were only eternal interests. The monster race and the barbarian race, who were allies not long ago, suddenly became mortal enemies. They even went crazy. For days. Only 4 days. The monster race and the barbarian race actually attacked each other 6 times. More than half of them were killed or injured. Almost 100,000 heroic souls were left on the blood plains. The whole blood plains was filled with a strong smell of blood. It seemed that the sky and the earth couldn't be seen, and only blood could be seen. The last day of the great battle was approaching. The sky above the blood plains seemed to be especially gloomy. The wind started to blow, kill. Mangon's big bald head was no longer bright. His eyes were bloodshot. After several days of continuous battles, not only did his allies make him feel tired, but it also made him extremely excited. It seemed that the more he killed, the more he wanted to kill. It seemed that the pleasure of killing was even better and more exciting than fooling around with the barbarian girls. Although he subconsciously thought that the barbarian race had left many of his people on the blood plains. But when he saw the death god's position, which had not dried up yet, his mind was filled with only killing and killing. It's the last day. Kill all these monster race people in front of me. Then I can return to the barbarian race in glory and receive the warm welcome of my father and my people. I can wait for countless barbarian girls to show their flowers and virginity. Kill. Let the storm come more fiercely. Mangon directly gave the order to attack. He wanted to take the position at all costs until everyone died. The Fox Demon Queen looked at the aggressive barbarian race and smiled disdainfully. She also gave the order to defend to the death. Her charming peach blossom eyes gradually became fiery. Recently, she didn't know what she was doing, but her mind always had a hint of restlessness to kill people. It seemed that killing people could make her feel more refreshed than seducing the inexperienced youths in her race and enjoying the first time in their lives. And since this feeling was so wonderful, then let this wonderful time last a little longer. Kill, kill, crazy, crazy, they've all gone crazy. Chapter 150. Yi Qinghan looked at the scene in front of him and resisted the urge to rush up and kill as well. He bit his lower lip and forced himself to be clear-headed. Looking ahead, the demon race and barbarian race were caught in an endless and horrifying battle. He actually became very agitated, as if he didn't like this hellish scene. He felt very uncomfortable. What's wrong, young Master Han? You can't bear to see the two races killing each other? You're too kind. Think about it. The demon race and barbarian race killed us themselves. I can't wait for all of them to die. Feng Zi saw Yi Qinghan's strange behavior and tried to console him. Yes, it's better for all of them to die. Why don't we wait until they're almost done killing, then go and finish them off? Hua Hua said darkly. No matter what, they're all living beings. Yi Qinghan sighed. He was a little disappointed and lost. Just then, Long Sinan walked over slowly and continued Yi Qinghan's words. Yes, it's too horrifying. Young Master Han, when should we attack? Wait until they're almost done killing? Yi Qinghan didn't speak. He only shook his head slightly and slowly closed his eyes, as if he couldn't bear to watch anymore. After a long time, he sighed deeply again and opened his eyes. There was a flash of decisiveness in his eyes. He turned to the three of them and said, Young Lady Long, come with me to that side. Feng Zi, Hua Hua, command the army and listen to our orders. Yes. Okay. Long Sinan didn't say much and nodded. Hua Hua and Feng Zi were a little confused, but since Yi Qinghan and Long Sinan finally said so, they could only do as they were told. Let's go. Yi Qinghan and Long Sinan slowly walked down from the Underworld God's camp and slowly walked towards the Blood-Red Death God's camp on the left. Where are young Master Han and young Lady Long going? Yes? It's too dangerous. There's a huge battle going on over there. You idiot. Young Master Han isn't afraid of group battles. They probably can't watch it from here. It'll be better if they go closer. Yi Qingwu and Yu Qingsheng had also been alerted. They hurriedly walked to the front and began to pay close attention to Yi Qinghan and Long Sanan's whereabouts, ready to act at any time. Of course, they still had great confidence in Yi Qinghan and Long Sinan. One was at the peak of the Marquis realm, and the other was the strongest on the Nether Island. It would be rather difficult to keep them here. Xiao. Yi Qinghan didn't say anything. He just nodded at Long Sinan. Then, both of them leapt into the air at the same time. Yi Qinghan used soul confusion to stun everyone around him. Then, he and Long Sinan steadily landed on the heads of the two tall barbarians. Brute force! The demon race commander has ordered all of you to stop. Otherwise, I'm going to start a massacre. Yi Qinghan circulated his battle chi and roared angrily, shocking the demons and barbarians who were fighting crazily and causing them to look over in confusion. However, most of them didn't know Yi Qinghan and Long Sinan. When they saw two humans standing on the heads of the barbarians, and that the demons and barbarians around them had collectively stopped moving, they became even more confused. Of course, brute force wouldn't be confused. At the foot of Duanren Peak, Yi Qinghan had also appeared in such an insufferably arrogant manner. At this moment, he was startled by Yi Qinghan's roar. At the same time, he was also shocked. When he saw Yi Qinghan's solemn expression on the barbarian's head, he knew that this young master was getting serious. He hurriedly ordered the barbarians to stop fighting. Yao Yu, the demon emperor of the Fox clan, was naturally no stranger to Yi Qinghan, who was currently standing on the heads of the barbarians. To be exact, she loved and hated him at the same time. Yi Qinghan, who was powerful and had a pretty face, had always been her favorite. And Yi Qinghan had instantly killed Yao Kaka at the foot of Duanren Peak without any hesitation. She didn't know how to explain this to that old pervert, Yao Xie, when she returned. Of course, at this moment, she was very clear that since Yi Qinghan had come and even made a move, this battle would most likely not continue. Hence, she decisively ordered for a ceasefire. And then, Yi Qinghan nodded and his expression gradually relaxed. He was very satisfied with the reactions of the demon clan and the barbarians. Of course, he also enjoyed the feeling of being able to control the lives of others. Once upon a time, his fate had been completely controlled by others. Now, through his constant hard work, he had a sliver of God's favor. He finally had the ability to control the fates of others. He was very happy and very carefree. Mangon, commander of the demon clan, order all of your people to retreat and retreat from the death god's camp. Both of you come here. I will give you a satisfactory explanation. Otherwise, I will lead the entire army of the House of Ares to attack both of your clans. Yi Qinghan said again, then nodded to Long Sinan. The two of them turned around and leaped, landing in front of the death god's camp. They quietly waited for Mangon and the commander of the demon clan to arrive. Mangon touched his big bald head. Looking at the empty middle finger on his right hand, he helplessly ordered his troops to retreat. To him, Yi Qinghan's threat was like a sharp sword hanging over his head. It could cut off his life at any time. To this young master, he did not dare to say anything. At least, he did not dare to say anything on Hades Island. Yao Yu twitched her delicate nose, and her two pointy ears perked up slightly. Without much hesitation, she immediately ordered her subordinates to retreat. The demon clan was a little confused by this temporary commander's order. Since when did they have to retreat just because a human said a few words? Why did they have to listen to that human? However, under the loud shouts of more demon sovereigns, they had no choice but to retreat from the death god's camp. Yi Qinghan calmly stood in front of the death god's camp. He looked at Mangon and three-man sovereigns rushing over from afar. On the other side, a seductive demon sovereign was also slowly walking over with two demon sovereigns. Yi Qinghan smiled and felt a lot of emotions. More than a year ago, he had been bullied by the Yi family. However, he did not dare to speak up. In the barbaric mountains, he had been surrounded by Shui Yi and the others, and had almost died. Not long ago, he had been pursued by the joint forces of Yao Kaka and Mangon. He had almost entered the tiger's den and had narrowly escaped death. However, at this moment, he could stand proudly in the face of thousands of troops. He could obediently let the demon clan and man clan armies stop fighting and make peace with his orders. He could make the important figures of the demon clan and man clan walk over obediently with flattering smiles. The river flows east for 30 years, and the river flows west for 30 years. The heavenly Tao is unpredictable, and the affairs of the world are ever-changing. My lord, Mangon is here to listen to your orders. Mangon forced a smile. After passing by Duanren Peak, Yi Qinghan had defeated thousands of troops. He was already satisfied. After Yi Qinghan had extorted him to the point that he was only left with his underwear, Mangon had already decided that Yi Qinghan was not someone to be trifled with. At this moment, of course, he had to speak carefully. Yao Yu of the demon clan greets young master Yi Qinghan. Yao Yu seemed to have figured out Yi Qinghan's identity. Her pair of peach blossom eyes were extremely seductive. Her two towering breasts stood proudly, as if she was subtly seducing Yi Qinghan. Of course, Yi Qinghan was a virgin who had never seen a woman before. He calmly glanced at Yao Yu's exposed snow-white breasts and secretly praised her in his heart. He collected his thoughts and said, "Have you noticed something? This place is very strange. It makes people have the urge to kill people. If you continue to fight today, I'm afraid that all of you will die. Those who don't die will also go crazy." After hearing Yi Qinghan's words, the two of them simultaneously thought of the uncontrollable urge to kill people. Their hearts palpitated. Mangon rubbed his bald head and said, "Indeed, I have never been so impulsive before. It is very strange. I have also fallen for it." Yao Yu patted her chest, causing her two towering breasts to jiggle. She said in a sweet voice, "Enough people have died. Originally, I didn't want to make a move. However, the heavens are merciful. I can only make a move to make you stop fighting." Yi Qinghan glanced at the two of them and continued, "Don't doubt me. Although the demon clan the barbarian clan and the human clan are different. We are all raised by our parents. We are all human beings. We all have one life. Too many people have died. That's enough. There is no need to fight anymore. Young Master Yi is very kind. Yao Yu looked at the corpses that were strewn all over the death god's camp. She calmly nodded her head and moved her beautiful lips. Once again, she said, "It's fine if we don't fight. However, this camp, that's right. My lord, who does this camp belong to?" Mangan also asked anxiously. A single sentence from Yi Qinghan could determine the final ownership of this camp, where more than 100,000 people had died. "It belongs to me." Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and said resolutely. Chapter 151. Air. Yao Yu and Mangan were both dumbfounded. How could this be? The two clans had been fighting for days and nights, and he wanted to take it away with just a word. How were they supposed to live? How were they supposed to explain this to their subordinates? How were they supposed to explain this to their clansmen? "Sir, you already have a base." Mangan finally could not hold it in anymore and muttered softly. Yao Yu also looked at Yi Qinghan with disdain. "The death god's base is too hostile. I'm afraid you can't suppress it. I'll let the House of Ares keep it for you." Yi Qinghan did not care about their gloomy and disdainful gazes and continued. "The death god's base has a good view. It's suitable for recuperation. I'll give it to you." As soon as Yi Qinghan's words fell, Mangan and Yao Yu's expressions instantly became incomparably ugly, as if their parents had just died. However, they didn't dare to show it, and could only respond with silence. Long Sinan, who was at the side, was expressionless, but in her heart, she was bursting with joy. "Do you have any objections?" Yi Qinghan saw that the two did not speak, so he emphasized his tone and said with a slight frown, "Of course, no objections." Mangan forced a smile. However, his ferocious-looking face was already hideous when he smiled. Now that he smiled, he looked even more ferocious. "Young Master Yi is so considerate of me. I dare not disobey." After pondering for a short while, Yao Yu agreed helplessly. Putting aside the fact that the 100,000 troops of the Divine Battle Manor were currently conserving their strength and waiting for the enemy to attack, even this handsome young man in front of them was not someone that the demon race could deal with. After thinking it through, she naturally would not learn from Mangan. Instead, she agreed without hesitation. She paused for a moment and continued to ask, "Who owns the Death God's base? If young Master Yi is willing to give it to the Demon Clan, I am willing to agree to any of your conditions." F***CK. Mangan could not take it anymore. This vixen actually dared to seduce him. Any conditions? Wasn't it obvious that she wanted to give him to Yi Qinghan? But after he cursed, he remembered that he didn't have anything to give to Yi Qinghan. Helplessly, he gritted his teeth and said, "Lord Yi, if you give me the underworld god formation, I'll give you my underwear. Let me tell you, my red underwear is not an ordinary item. It's a high-grade treasure, an ancestral treasure. This underwear can make dragons root more ferocious and last longer. With this underwear, I can have sex with 10 women in one night." Scram! Yi Qinghan didn't say anything, but Long Sinan, who was beside him, couldn't take it anymore. She furrowed her brows and shouted angrily, "You should keep that Superman underwear for yourself. Yao Yu, don't use your seduction technique on me." "It doesn't seem to work on me." Yi Qinghan rubbed his nose awkwardly and said, "How about this? It's up to the heavens to decide who gets the formation." Yi Qinghan took out the blue dragon dagger and said to the two of them, "One of you chooses the blade and the other chooses the hilt. Later on, I will toss them into the air. Whoever lands first will be the winner. Of course, no one is allowed to play any tricks. Otherwise, it will be considered a loss. How about it?" "Good. It's finally fair. I choose the blade." Mangan nodded. He didn't have to give up his ancestral treasure and could obtain the formation fairly. Of course, he didn't have any objections. "I also agree. I'll choose the hilt first." Yao Yu looked at Yi Qinghan resentfully, as if blaming him for not knowing how to be tender to the fairer sex. "Xiao, Yi Qinghan didn't waste any time and directly tossed the dagger into the air. Under his control, the blue dragon dagger spun back and forth rapidly and flew up into the air before falling rapidly. Bang! The blue dragon dagger landed heavily on the ground. In the end, it was the hilt that landed first. Everyone present could clearly feel that it was normal for the blue dragon dagger to land on the ground. No one was cheating. The formation of the underworld god belongs to me now. Thank you, young Master Yi. What I said just now still stands. Big sister will wait for you tonight. Yao Yu was in a great mood. She laughed delicately and made another tempting invitation before leaving with her people. Mangon's face was as black as a sheet. When he saw that Yi Qinghan was about to leave, he hurriedly ran a few steps behind him and pleaded, "My lord, is my red underwear really not bad? Why don't you reconsider? If you give me the formation of the underworld god, I'll strip it for you now. Why don't I call out 10 barbarian girls to do it for you? You can decide after you see the results." Get lost. Night gradually fell. The silver moon in the sky sprinkled silver light on the scarlet plain, making it look especially strange and mysterious. Tonight, all the humans, demons, and barbarians in the scarlet plain couldn't sleep. They looked at the blazing fire in front of the scarlet plain, burning countless barbarian and demon corpses, taking away countless lives that were still alive during the day. The blazing fire illuminated everyone's faces, revealing their hidden sorrow. The prefectural battle would come to an end tomorrow. Tomorrow, they would be transported to the spacious Plaza of Honor in front of the Divine City. In this year, countless people had experienced life and death, happiness, pain, and the most important battle of their lives. They had experienced a trip to the Nether Island that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. Long Sinan had experienced the first battle in her life. She had experienced the worry and urgency before the battle, the anxiety and worry after losing the battle, the regret and helplessness after losing the battle, and the joy and surprise after escaping from death. Yu Qingqing had experienced the most important battle of her life. She had fought against the enemy and Yi Qinghan. In the end, she had won the victory and won Yi Qinghan's heart. Yi Qinghan had experienced the biggest turning point in his life. He had broken through to the martial realm, and his body fusion technique had advanced. In the end, he had confirmed his position as the #1 among the young elites of the House of Aries. He finally had the 7th son of the Yi family and became the 7th son of the Yi family. Most importantly, he had obtained enough points. The younger sister of the Yi family at the back of the mountain would finally have the chance to wake up. Mangon had also experienced the most painful failure in his life. Not only did he lose his middle finger, but he had also used up almost all of the barbarian elites. In the end, he had gained nothing. Fengzi had also experienced it. Everyone had experienced an unforgettable experience in their lives. Tomorrow would be the end of this fantastic mansion battle. Everyone's thoughts were complicated and mixed. How could they fall asleep? How could they not sleep? Yi Qinghan was sitting in front of a small fire with all the young masters and young ladies. His thoughts were all over the place. He thought of his younger sister at the back of the mountain of the Yi family. He thought of the scene where Yi Qingyu slowly flew up and her green hair gradually turned white. He thought of the intoxicating smile on Yi Qingyu's face as she closed her eyes. He couldn't help but smile as well. Yi Shisan and Yi 17 thought of Yi Qingyu's instructions before they left. They thought of the self-destruction of Yi Yi and Yi Jiu. They thought of the terrifying black dragon above the Black Dragon Valley. Of course, they thought of the expressions on the faces of the chief instructor, the patriarch, and the elders when they found out that Yi Qinghan had fought 10,000 enemies by himself and possessed the soul confusion skill that was almost comparable to a godly skill. Yu Qingqing didn't think of anything. She just looked at Yi Qinghan in a daze. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that as long as she had Yi Qinghan, she would have everything. A girl in love would only think about her lover and nothing else. This was a common problem for all girls. Of course, Yu Qingqing, the saintess of the Yu family, was no exception. Long Sinan, Fengzi, Huaxia. Many people were thinking about tomorrow. Tomorrow, they would be transported to the Divine City. When the elders of the various clans received them in the divine city, they wondered what kind of expressions they would have when they learned that they had obtained the final victory and that there were only a few casualties. The night was dark, but the wind started blowing in the middle of the night. The strong wind blew the piles of ashes in front of the death god's camp into the distance, turning them into next year's spring mud. It also blew everyone's thoughts into the distance, into the high and mighty god city in the distance. Chapter 152. Divine City, Yi family's exclusive manor. Yi Qingyo was very nervous. He was a little worried and a little expectant. Originally, there was no need for him to appear here with his status. Every time the elite prefecture tournament ended, most families would only send 1 or 2 Emperor Realm Elders to welcome their respective descendants. However, this time was different. This time, the only descendant of the Yi family who possessed a holy beast had been forced to be sent to the death trap of Nether Island. The future hope of the Yi family should have grown up smoothly under the protection of the various elders of the family. However, because of the foolish actions of the father and son, Yi Jian and Yi Qingquan, the family was forced to send Yi Qinghan to the elite prefecture tournament with a shoddy excuse. Having experienced 2 elite prefecture tournaments, Yi Qingyo was very familiar with the dangers of the elite prefecture tournament and the various strange occurrences on Nether Island. Therefore, he was very worried that Yi Qinghan would die prematurely. However, he was also a little expectant. He looked forward to the holy beast's growth in the power of blood and fire. Moreover, his precious granddaughter had also gone in this time. Therefore, he decided to break the rules and personally brought Yi Ping to welcome the descendant of the Yi family who was about to return. Grand Supreme Elder, I've just received news that Yao Xie brought people into the Divine City a few days ago. Their current whereabouts are unknown. At this time, Yi Ping walked in and saw Yi Qingyo sitting alone under a large tree in the manor. He hurriedly walked over and reported, "Oh, why is this old pervert here?" Yi Qingyo raised his eyebrows in surprise. Then, he thought of something and lightly waved his hand. "Ignore him. He's probably here to pick up his precious son. This old pervert has a son at such an old age and treats him like a treasure. Grand Supreme Elder, it's almost time. I'll go out." Yi Ping could see Yi Qingyo's worry from the side, and he was also a little worried. He looked at the sky and saw that it was almost noon, and noon was the time when all the people of Nether Island were transported to the Honor Plaza of the Divine City. Let's go. Let's go see if our little fellows can surprise us." Yi Qingyo sighed and set his mind at ease. He led the way to the southern gate of the Divine City outside the manor. "Greetings, Elder Yi Qingyo." Yi Qingyo walked to the southern gate of the Divine City and discovered that there were already many people standing in the plaza. The various clans had sent representatives to welcome their elite disciples, and Yi Qingyo was the only one with the highest seniority and strength in the House of Aries. Naturally, the people nearby had to come over to greet him. "Forget it. Let's wait for the good news together." Yi Qingyo indifferently glanced at the crowd. His gaze lingered on the representative of the Shui clan for a moment before he shifted his gaze to the surroundings of the public square. On the left side of the public square were the representatives of the barbarian race. There were about a dozen of them, but the strongest among them was only a high-level barbarian sovereign. On the right side of the public square were the representatives of the demon race. However, Yi Qingyo didn't discover any traces of Yao Xie. In front of him was a row of golden-robed men. They were the representatives of the Divine City. Xiao! 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 At noon, the 3 super-huge teleportation formations in the square suddenly lit up at the same time. A huge brilliance shone, blossoming into a dazzling 7-colored radiance. After a while, the brilliance dissipated. Suddenly, groups of demon race, barbarian race, and human race appeared out of nowhere in Glory Square. Everyone from the House of Aries, come to the front. Barbarian god residents, stand on the left, and demon god residents, stand on the right. The emissary from the Divine City immediately began to arrange the people who would be teleported over. This kind of huge teleportation formation could teleport 10,000 people at a time. The remaining people would have to be teleported over again. Therefore, the people from the Divine City had to arrange for the people who were teleported over first to leave the teleportation formation so that the next batch could be teleported over. Understood. The first to be teleported over were the lowest-ranked soldiers. These soldiers had obviously received orders from their respective leaders. Under the command of the emissary from the Divine City, they began to move in an orderly manner. Yi Qingyo looked at the dignified and high-spirited soldiers of the House of Aries. His expression suddenly became better. The representatives of the various clans beside him also smiled happily. Anyone who wasn't blind could see this. The morale of the soldiers of the House of Aries was high. They looked dignified and excited. On the other hand, the barbarians and demons were either injured or disabled. Their expressions were gloomy, and their footsteps were heavy. One look was enough to tell that the House of Aries had definitely won this prefecture battle. Swoosh! The teleportation formation lit up again. Groups of soldiers from the House of Aries walked out in an orderly manner. On the other hand, the casualties on the side of the demons and barbarians were even higher. Swoosh! The third teleportation formation lit up. This situation confused Yi Qingyo and the representatives of the various clans, because the people from the House of Aries were still the same, 10,000 people. On the other hand, the demons and barbarians only had half of their people. Furthermore, they seemed to have seen a bald man who recklessly searched for information. His middle finger was actually empty. On the other hand, the demons did not see Yao Kaka. Swoosh! The fourth teleportation formation was as they expected. The House of Aries still had 10,000 people, but the teleportation formation on the side of the demons and barbarians did not light up again. The demons were already starting to get noisy. They did not see their saint's son, the leader of the demons, Yao Kaka. Yao Kaka was dead? The people from the demons recalled the abnormal behavior of the saint over the past few days, and were even more certain of this. They could not help but feel very conflicted. The saint of the demons had a son at an old age, and Yao Kaka was his lifeblood. It seemed like the demons and humans would have to bear his monstrous anger this time. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. What happened next made Yi Qingyo and the others even more dumbfounded. The teleportation formations of the demons and barbarians had long stopped working, but the ones at the House of Aries kept flashing. Furthermore, the people who were teleported out were all intact. There were no injuries at all. It was as if they had just been teleported to the Nether Island. This is strange. Elder Yi, this is too strange. The House of Aries had 100,000 people, but only 80,000 of them were unharmed. No, they teleported out again. There are 90,000 people now. What happened? Did they not fight the final battle? But they were not on the Scarlet Plain, so how could they teleport here in time? What is going on? An Emperor-level expert from the Phone clan was shocked. He looked at Yi Qingyo with surprise and doubt, hoping that Yi Qingyo could give him an answer. Let's wait and see. We will know when they teleport over. Yi Qingyo's expression was indifferent. He had the demeanor of a master who would not change his expression even if a mountain was pressing down on him. However, deep down, he was extremely shocked and a little worried. Could there be a problem with such a strange situation? Yi Qingyo's worries were completely shattered when the light of the last teleportation flashed. Looking at the two familiar, yet strange young girls and boys at the front of the team that had been teleported over, he almost burst into tears. His granddaughter had grown up. The childishness on her face had faded, and she had grown into a big girl. Yi Qinghan had grown darker and taller. However, the occasional glimmer in his clear eyes and the calm smile on his face seemed to be silently telling Yi Qingyo that he had grown up. Let's go and welcome them. Yi Qingyo's mouth twitched, and he smiled. Then his smile widened and turned into a chuckle. Finally, it turned into a loud laugh. Very good. They were alive. It was good that they were all alive. Being alive was more important than anything else. Chapter 153. Grandfather. After a flash of light, Yi Qingwu realized that she had arrived at a huge plaza. The troops from the House of Aries were standing neatly on the left. She began to look around in confusion, trying to see who had come to welcome them back. However, a moment later, she heard an extremely familiar voice. She was instantly overjoyed and abruptly turned her head to look in his direction. When she saw the familiar bulging eyes of Yi Qingyo, tears immediately welled up in her eyes, and she excitedly pounced towards him. Yi Qinghan and the others also noticed Yi Qingyo and the others. They smiled and gestured for Yi Shisan to arrange for the elites from the House of Aries to return, while he, Fengzi, Long Sinan, and the others walked towards Yi Qingyo. Grandfather, grandfather. Yi Qingwu was like a lost child who had suddenly found her family. She threw herself into Yi Qingyo's arms and cried loudly. Her entire body trembled. All right, my good granddaughter, it's good that you're back, it's good that you're back. You're not hurt anywhere, are you all right? You won't look pretty if you keep crying. Yi Qingyo said with a trembling voice as he gently patted Yi Qingwu's back. Yi Qingwu's parents had both passed away when she was young. This granddaughter of his had been brought up by him, and he had doted on her since she was young. Now that she had been gone for a year, he had been worried about her. It's okay, I'm fine. Everything is fine. I made grandfather worry. Yi Qingwu slowly regained her composure. When she heard Yi Qingyo's teasing, she finally stopped crying and smiled. She stood up shyly and held on to Yi Qingyo's hand tightly. Yi Qinghan greets the Grand Supreme Elder and all the elders of the family. Yi Qinghan walked over slowly and bowed to Yi Qingyo. Then he cupped his fists at all the elders, but he did not greet the Shui family's elders. Greetings, Elder Yi Qingyo and all the elders. Long Sinan was the second to bow, but she did not greet the Shui family's elders either. Greetings, Fengzi, Hua, and Yu Qingqing also came over and bowed. They all ignored the Shui family's elders, as if they had not seen them at all. The Shui family elder had not noticed that Shui Wuhan was among the Shui family disciples. He was very anxious and worried, and wanted to ask Long Sinan and the others about it. Now that he saw that Long Sinan and the others had completely ignored him, his mood worsened. Since Yi Qingyo was present, he did not say much and only snorted coldly to express his dissatisfaction. It's good that you're all back. Yi Qingyo's face was full of smiles, and he did not even look at the Shui family elders. He looked at Yi Qinghan's surging internal qi, which was obvious that he had reached the level of a marshal. He was shocked and astonished, and he was overjoyed. How could he have the time to care about the Shui family? After carefully observing Yi Qinghan for a few moments, he once again confirmed this matter that made him extremely surprised. He wanted to open his mouth to ask about the situation, but he didn't expect that at this time, there would be an incomparably powerful aura coming from behind the demon clan. He couldn't help but frown. Without another word, he turned his gaze to the sky behind the demon clan. The elders of the various clans also shut their mouths and stared in shock at the sky behind the demon race. The divine city forbade fighting, but someone had actually released his aura so brazenly. Yi Qinghan, get out here! A deafening roar suddenly came from the sky behind the demon clan. Then, a black figure flew over quickly, passing by the demon clan troops, and directly flew to the front of the House of Aries. A brutal and bloodthirsty aura surrounded the entire army of the House of Aries. Bang! A ray of green light suddenly bloomed. Then, a huge green light shield suddenly formed above the army of the House of Aries. It directly isolated the evil aura released by the black figure in the sky, and then slowly flew up. Its eyes were wide open, and its head of white hair danced in the air even though there was no wind. Saint level. Yi Qingyo immediately released his Saint domain, protecting all the members of the House of Aries. After Yi Qingyo confirmed that the members of the House of Aries were all fine, he turned to Yao Xie and said, Yao Xie, what are you trying to do, you damned ladyboy? Yi Qinghan, Long Sinan, and the rest looked up at the golden-haired, demon-like figure in the sky. They could not help but feel a chill run down their spines. The evil and violent aura just now was too terrifying. It was so terrifying that even they did not dare to move. They only felt their bodies turn cold and suffocated. Was the power of the demon clan's Saint Venerable so powerful? The demon clan's Saint Venerable's golden hair danced in the wind. His eyes were bloodshot and his face was slightly twisted. His blood-red eyes scanned the elites of the House of Ares and said fiercely, "What am I trying to do? Your Yi family's descendants are so strong that you even dared to kill my son? Today, I will teach you an unforgettable lesson. Wild Bull, get out of my way." Whoosh! Yi Qingyo was a little dumbfounded. The elders of the various clans were also dumbfounded. Yi Qinghan actually killed the son of Yao Xie? Yao Kaka, the son of Yao Xie, could be killed by Yi Qinghan? Not to mention the fact that Yao Kaka was protected by a few high-tier demon emperors and countless demon marshals. Yao Kaka's demon emperor strength was not something that Yi Qinghan could kill. Whoosh! Whoosh! Just as Yi Qingyo was about to ask more questions, a few barbarian sovereigns flew over and shouted angrily from afar. "Yi Qingyo, your family's Yi Qinghan broke one of our young clan head's fingers, stole our young clan head's armor, and killed countless of our barbarian soldiers. If you do not give us an explanation, our barbarian race will not rest." Whoosh! Whoosh! This time, Yi Qingyo was even more dumbfounded. The elders of the various clans were even more dumbfounded. What was going on? Killing Yao Kaka, who was a demon emperor, breaking the middle finger of a barbarian sovereign, and even took away his armor, and killing countless barbarians? Was this done by Yi Qinghan? Was this something that a 16-year-old youth could do? Were Yao Xie and those barbarian sovereigns stupid? How could they say such a thing? However, when they all turned their gazes to Yi Qinghan only rubbed his hands together shyly and nodded his head. Beside him, Yi Qingwu, Long Sainan, Hua Ji, and Feng Zi also nodded their heads. Silence, silence. Yi Qingyo and the other barbarian sovereigns fell silent at the same time. Or rather, they were digesting this shocking and unbelievable truth. However, Yao Xie and the barbarian sovereign's anger was so direct and obvious. Yi Qinghan's reply was so direct and clean. They had no choice but to believe this heaven-defying truth. How could Yi Qinghan be so powerful? "Wild Bull, get out of the way. Otherwise, don't blame me for falling out with you." Seeing Yi Qingyo silently standing in the air, Yao Xie was enraged and spoke again. Yi Qingyo was not staying silent. Instead, he was transmitting his voice to Yi Shisan. After learning that Yi Qinghan had not only broken through to the martial realm, but that his body fusion battle technique had also leveled up, allowing him to instantly kill all experts below the imperial realm, Yi Qingyo couldn't help but be overjoyed. In the end, his ecstasy turned into laughter, and then into maniacal laughter. His old face bloomed like a peach blossom in spring, and he seemed to have become 10 years younger. "You damned ladyboy, what are you shouting for? Are you going to fall out with me? Come on, I was able to flirt with you 30 years ago, and I can still do it now." Chapter 154. Old man, I gave you face, but you don't want it. Don't blame me for being impolite. The demon laughed angrily and waved his sharp claws. With a roar, a huge golden lion suddenly appeared behind him. Its blood-red eyes shone with a dazzling light as it was about to attack. Oomph! Yi Qingyo did not want to be outdone. The green light barrier suddenly changed and expanded, enveloping the demon and the barbarian emperors. At the same time, a green air current was emitted from his body, and his aura suddenly soared. All of you stopped. Just when the situation was tense and both sides were about to attack, a loud roar came from the divine city. Immediately after, a tall figure appeared in the sky and stood on top of the walls of the divine city. Yao Xie, Yi Qingyo, have you forgotten the rules of the divine master? How dare you attack within 100 miles of the divine city? Do you want to bear the wrath of the divine city? The tall figure was a bald man dressed in a brocade robe. The tip of his nose was very small, and his nostrils were very large, like a garlic sticking to his face. At this moment, he was glaring angrily at Yi Qingyo and the demon as he spoke coldly. "Greetings, God's slain guard. How would Yi Qingyo dare to break the rules of the divine master? It's just that if Yao Xie wants to kill someone, how can I not play with him?" Yi Qingyo smiled faintly and retracted his sacred domain. He cupped his hands towards the God's slain guard. He knew that since the god-slaying guard had made his move, the fight would probably not continue. Moreover, he was the one in the right, so he naturally had nothing to fear. Yao Xie, are you still not going to restrain yourself? Do you want me to attack? The god-slaying guard calmly responded to Yi Qingyo's salute and turned to Yao Xie angrily. Humph, humph. Yao Xie coldly snorted and helplessly retracted the phantom lion behind him. He turned his head and fell silent. I know what happened to you guys. The god-slaying guard nodded his head in satisfaction and continued. This time, Yao Kaka's death and Brute Tan's finger were all related to a young master of the Yi family, right? Yi Qing'an, not bad, young and promising. The god-slaying guard glanced indifferently at Yi Qing'an, who was behind Yi Qing'an, and continued. The demon race and the brute race actually joined forces in this prefecture battle just to hunt down and kill Yi Qing'an. Then, Yi Qing'an actually managed to escape and even obtain great power. He single-handedly defeated the demon race and brute race's army, killed Yao Kaka, and broke off one of Brute's fingers. Such an earth-shattering event is rarely seen in several hundred years. Green Knight Ox, you've picked up such a treasure. Even this old man gasps in amazement at the sight of such astonishing talent. You think too highly of me, God-slaying guard. My boy is just lucky. His future achievements are still uncertain. Yi Qingyo modestly cupped his hands, but his old face was full of joy. Thank you, God-slaying guards, for your praise. Yi Qing'an also cupped his hands in greeting. He was such a powerful being who could actually make Yi Qingyo and Yao Xie stop immediately. Not to mention getting close to him, it was best not to provoke him. The god-slaying guard smiled faintly, and his garlic-like nose twitched as he continued. Of course, the Divine City is also largely responsible for Yao Kaka's death. A messenger from the Divine City actually faked an order from the son of the god-slaying guard and ordered the demon race and brute race to hunt down Yi Qing'an. In the end, Yao Kaka died in battle. This person's crime cannot be forgiven, and the Divine City will choose a day to execute him in public. As for Tu Qianjuan's failure to discipline his subordinates, he has already been sentenced to 5 years in the Divine Prison by the Divine City's Punishment Hall. The execution will be carried out tomorrow. Does anyone have any objections? Yi Qing'an frowned slightly. There was actually such a situation? Yi Qing'an was actually being hunted down? Or was it arranged by the messenger from the Divine City? Was there something fishy going on? However, he did not have the time to investigate the situation at the moment, and the god-slaying guard had gained the upper hand by making a show of strength. He was prepared to kill a messenger from the Divine City, and even the only male of the 4 guards of the Divine City had been sentenced to 5 years in prison. He could not fly into a rage and could only nod faintly. The elders of the various clans also transmitted a message to their own clansmen in confusion and started to investigate the situation. Yi Qing'an snorted faintly, and his face turned gloomy. Tu Qianjun did not discipline his subordinates strictly. He had killed a messenger and imprisoned Tu Qianjun for 5 years, and he wanted to let this matter go? No way, but Yi Qing'an did not speak at this moment. He also knew that the might of the Divine City was not something that he could directly go against at the moment. He could only helplessly lower his head. Yu Qingsheng and Yi Qingwu, who were at the side, saw Yi Qing'an's expression and knew that he was feeling very sullen. They reached out their hands at the same time and held on to Yi Qing'an's left and right hands as a form of consolation. Every debt has its debtor. I only care about who killed my son. The demon's attitude was very strange. He only stared at Yi Qing'an with hatred and said, Yi Qing'an, you better hide in the House of Aries for the rest of your life. If you dare to participate in the next chaotic prefecture battle, I will definitely kill you. People of the demon race scram back to the demon god residence. The demon roared angrily and left behind a vicious sentence. He actually turned around and flew towards the teleportation formation in the west. The rest of the demon race army, under the command of the demon, did not dare to stay any longer and hurriedly headed towards the teleportation formation in the west. Swish! The demon's huge figure gradually disappeared into the teleportation formation. The divine city was located in the center of the three prefectures, but at the same time, a large number of teleportation formations were built, which could directly teleport to the main cities of the three prefectures. Swish, swish, swish. Rays of light flashed, and the demon race army was gradually teleported away. They actually did not even want to use their points to exchange for treasures in the divine city, even though they probably did not have many points on hand. This time, the House of Ares has won. We will rest for a day, and tomorrow, we can go to the Immortal Incineration House to receive the rewards for winning the Superior Prefecture, as well as exchange the points we won for treasures. The god-slaying guard twitched his nose. Now that the matter was settled, he left behind a sentence and flew directly into the divine city. Yi Qing'an, just you wait. A few barbarian emperors also left behind a sentence, turned around, and returned to the barbarian race army. After a short rest, the barbarian race army actually headed towards the teleportation formation in the south. Almost all of their rings had been taken away by Yi Qing'an, and they were only left with a few points. Hence, they decided not to exchange for them, and directly returned to the barbarian god residence. All soldiers, set up camp here. The rest of you, follow me to the Yi family manor. Yi Qingyo let go of his previous unhappiness, landed slowly, and laughed loudly as he gave the order. Yes! The 100,000 soldiers roared in unison and quickly got to work. This time, not only did the House of Ares suffer very few casualties, but it was also a complete victory. Since they had collected most of the points from the demon race and barbarian race, it could be said that they had a great harvest. What is that? Yi Qing'an, have you seen my young master and the elites of my family? Just as everyone was about to follow Yi Qingyo into the divine city, the anxious voice of the Shui family elder came from behind. Shui Wuan? He's dead. Yi Qing'an looked at the Shui family elder indifferently, and with a frosty expression, he said coldly, "Of course, even if he is not dead, if I see him, he will undoubtedly die." Chapter 155. Divine City. In a secret room of the Yi family's manor. Yi Qingyo had already arrived, with the exception of the Shui family elders who were still in a daze outside the divine city. Long Sainan, Yi Qing'an, and the others also took their seats. Qing'an, tell us everything that happened to you in the mansion battle. Yi Qingyo was the first to speak. He wanted to know about the god-slaying guard's abnormal trial, Yi Qing'an's sudden increase in strength, Yi Qing'an and the others' obvious hatred toward Shui Wuhan, and the many inexplicable things that happened in the prefecture battle. Of course, Yi Qingyo was not an idiot. He transmitted his voice to Yi Qing'an at the same time and told him about the specific situation of Yi Qing'an's strength. Yi Qing'an nodded and stood up. He cupped his hands and bowed to Yi Qingyo and the elders, then slowly said, "It all started when we first entered Nether Island. At that time, under Yu Qingqing's suggestion, the elite disciples of our four families formed a super elite team. We found the demon's slaying hall and began to wait there. Then, we went to the chaotic battlefield. With our team's super strength and 3 months of seamless cooperation, we hunted down a few demon and barbarian teams. Half a month later, we were strangely surrounded by Yao Kaka and Mangon. In the end, Yi Yi and the others risked their lives to fend them off. In the Black Dragon Valley, I was lucky enough to obtain a dragon crystal, which allowed me to activate a combined battle technique. My strength also broke through to the martial realm, allowing me to instantly kill any demon or barbarian emperor. In the end, after the final battle, that's basically what happened." Yi Qing'an spoke leisurely for half an hour before he explained everything clearly. Of course, he did not mention much about his actual strength. He only mentioned that he obtained a dragon crystal and a combined battle technique. He did not mention that he had a sacred beast, and that his combined battle technique had been upgraded to a combined battle technique. The expressions of all the clan elders and Dragon City elders changed, and Yi Qingyo's face also became cloudy. However, they were certain of 3 things at the same time. First, Yi Qing'an's current strength and potential. He was a 16-year-old marshal. His overall strength could be said to be invincible under the imperial realm. Such a genius was hard to come by in 1,000 years. He was even more ferocious than his father, Yi Dao. Secondly, Shui Wuhan had colluded with the non-human kind to kill the disciples of the four families. Although he had intended to kill Yi Qinghan, he had almost killed all the young elites of the four families. Thirdly, he reckoned that Tu Qianjun must have participated in this. Otherwise, the divine city, which had always been powerful, wouldn't have imprisoned Tu Qianjun for 5 years. Qinghan, do you have any proof that Shui Wuhan sold your whereabouts to the demon clan and the barbarian clan? Yi Qingyo was silent for a moment. Then he raised his head and spoke with a serious expression, his eyes shining brightly. Yes, Elder Qingyo is right. The elder of the Feng clan also had a gloomy expression. This was not a small matter. If it was true, then the implications were very deep. The other elders also had serious expressions. They stared closely at Yi Qinghan's face, waiting for his answer. Of course I do. Yi Qinghan nodded and took out a small transparent bottle from his bosom. Inside the bottle were the remains of a few transparent insects that had been broken into 2 halves. Opening the bottle, he poured the insects on the table. Yi Qinghan looked at Long Sainan and the others again and said, Also, I personally asked Mangan about this matter and obtained his confirmation. At that time, young lady Long, Hua Hua, Cheng Chengzi, Fengzi, and all the leaders of the elite teams of the House of Aries were present. They can all testify. After hearing Yi Qinghan's words, Long Sainan's group immediately responded and stood up. Long Sainan represented them and said, We can testify for this matter. Mangan also told us that Shui Wuhan gave him and Yao Kaka a positioning crystal through the people of the divine city. After that, Shui Wuhan suddenly disappeared, and there's no news of him even now. Yi Qingyo snorted. His left hand, which was holding onto a chair, suddenly exerted force. The left armrest of the chair was instantly shattered. His eyes bulged and the skin on his face twitched. Like an enraged bull, he angrily shouted, The Shui clan is so bold. Not long ago, they crippled a jade spirit physique of our clan. Now, they dare to ally with the foreign races to kill our clan successor? Has it been a long time since Drifting Blood has appeared in Drifting Snow City? Does the Shui clan want to completely erase their name from the House of Aries? The Shui clan is too bold. Right now, I will definitely report this to the clan leader. Then, the clan leaders will discuss this. How dare the Shui clan ally with the foreign races to kill the future successors of our clans? It seems like the Drifting Snow City wants to go against the entire House of Aries. The female elder of the Yu clan was the second to speak. After confirming the relationship between Yi Qinghan and Yu Qingcheng, and knowing that Yi Qinghan was so powerful, she quickly decided on a strategy to rope in Yi Qinghan at all costs. Yi Qingyo represented the Yi clan as the direct victim. There were some things that she did not dare to say, but she could say it, and she did so without hesitation. Her goal was to make the Feng clan, the Hua clan, and the Dragon City express their stance. This is a very important matter. I do not have the right to express my stance. But since Shui Wuhan has done something that cannot be tolerated, the clan leader will not tolerate it. And I personally feel that the Drifting Snow City should be bleeding. Although the elder of the Feng clan did not speak on behalf of the Feng clan, she immediately expressed her stance. Shui Wuhan must be killed. As for the matter regarding the Shui clan, the patriarchs of the great clans must discuss it together. The elder of the Hua clan spoke vaguely. This matter was too important, and she did not have the authority to speak. Of course, Shui Wuhan must die. As for the matter regarding the Shui clan, everyone should not be angry. Let's gather the patriarchs and the palace master to discuss it before making a decision. Dragon City's stance was impartial, and he expressed his stance objectively. All right, then let's send the order. Find Shui Wuhan first. The Yi clan will offer a treasure weapon as a reward for Shui Wuhan's whereabouts. Yi Qingyo nodded slightly. It was already good enough that the representatives of the great clans had expressed their stance. As for whether or not to flatten the Drifting Snow City, Such an important matter still needed the palace master and the patriarchs of the great clans to decide. Yi Qingniu immediately posted a sky-high bounty on Shui Wuheng's whereabouts. That was a treasured tool. That was a treasure that could be exchanged for half a small city. 4 high-level warriors, crystal coins, and purple crystal coins could no longer be considered wealth. Only spiritual weapons, treasured weapons, spirit pills, rare medicinal herbs, and special treasures could be considered valuable treasures. Yi Qinghan sighed inwardly as he watched the elders of the great clans act in such a manner. He had originally thought that since he had such an important piece of evidence and had personally gone to the barbarian race's base camp to let Long Sinan and the others obtain incomparably accurate evidence, it would be enough to plunge the Shui clan into eternal damnation. However, it seemed that this matter was rather complicated and there might be more twists and turns. Long Sinan, Hua Hua, and the others were already of one mind with Yi Qinghan. When they saw the elders of the great clans express their stance, and saw Yi Qinghan's face gradually turning gloomy, they could not help but feel anxious. Feng Zi and the others discussed in a low voice. Then, she stood up and, ignoring the Feng clan elder's gaze, said loudly, "Young Master Han, don't worry. Shui Wuhan has schemed against us and committed such an intolerable act. When we return, we will definitely report this to our respective patriarchs. We will not rest until the drifting snow city's blood is spilled." Chapter 156. That afternoon, everyone chatted for the whole afternoon. Then, Yi Qingniu had a private chat with Yi Qinghan for a long time. He asked about the details of how the House of Aries' strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Yi Qingniu was so happy that his face bloomed. That night, a banquet was held in the Yi family's manor. Together with the young masters and leaders of the various clans who had participated in the House of Aries battle, there were a total of 100 people. The banquet was held at dozens of tables to celebrate the House of Aries' victory. Of course, the House of Aries had a great victory, but they still held a banquet in the Yi family's manor. Moreover, Yi Qingniu was famous for being stingy and extorting people. Of course, there was another meaning to this. It was to celebrate Yi Qinghan's sudden increase in strength, and that the Yi family had a peerless genius that hadn't appeared in 1,000 years. They drank with the Yi family. Of course, Yi Qingniu and Yi Qinghan were the hosts. Yi Qingniu's strength and seniority were the highest, so naturally, no one dared to twist his whiskers. However, Yi Qinghan was different. Countless people came forward to toast him for all sorts of reasons, causing Yi Qinghan to be unable to distinguish between North and South, a 16-year-old martial realm warrior. This kind of talent hadn't appeared in the House of Aries for hundreds of years. The most important person was the popular young master of the Yi family. He had a powerful beast and was the strongest person below the Emperor realm. This title was well-deserved. After Yi Qinghuang was banished, Yi Qinghan was so favored. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that if Yi Qinghan continued to cultivate, he would definitely become the future leader of the Yi family. Furthermore, Yi Qinghan had saved their lives at the foot of Duan Ren Peak. Therefore, no matter how one looked at it, everyone at the scene treated Yi Qinghan as a person that they had to build a good relationship with. Therefore, Yi Qinghan became the focus of the crowd without any suspense. Even Yu Qingsheng, the future wife of Yi Qinghan, had become the center of attention. Under the continuous attacks of the crowd, she was the first to retreat. After Yi Qingniu and the other clan elders accepted a few toasts, they returned to the guest rooms that the Yi family had prepared with smiles on their faces, allowing the youngsters to continue messing around. Yi Qinghan was in a good mood. He had gotten his points, his sister could be saved, and his strength had increased tremendously. His mother's vows seemed to be fulfilled. Therefore, he did not reject anyone who came to propose a toast to him tonight. Every cup was emptied, which added to the impression that he was heroic, young. "Young Master Han, you bastard, old Feng, my limelight has been completely stolen by you. I, lunatic, am jealous of you. I can't even win against you in the battlefield of love. Tonight, I'm going to get you drunk and knock you down." The lunatic was drunk. He staggered over with his shadow step while carrying a large jar of wine. He wanted to sit down next to Yi Qinghan, But unexpectedly, he sat on the ground and fell flat on his back. Huh? Yi Qinghan looked with misty eyes at Feng Zi, who was shaking his head on the ground, and laughed loudly. He scolded loudly. Trash like you. You want to win against me? Get up first. If you can't get up, then just sleep here tonight. I'm going back to sleep. After waiting for a long time, Yi Qinghan saw that Feng Zi had actually fallen asleep on the ground. He scolded him with a smile and staggered back to his room. Although he was already very drunk, he subconsciously knew that he couldn't drink anymore. If he drank anymore, he would really vomit. It was fine for people to be drunk, as they would be fine after a good night's sleep. However, if he vomited, his head would hurt for half a day the next day. However, when he groggily made his way into the room that Yi Qingyo had prepared for him in the afternoon and collapsed onto a large, soft, white bed, he felt as if there was another person on the bed. In his groggy state, he called out softly, but the person on the bed didn't respond. He simply ignored her and fell asleep in a daze. It was said that drunk people slept well, and they would sleep until the sun rose. However, that night, Yi Qinghan had a strange dream. In his dream, he seemed to have returned to the back mountain of the Yi family. He saw that Yi Qingyu had woken up, and she was crying and laughing as she threw herself at him. She hugged him tightly and didn't let go for a long time. Then, the scene changed. The back mountain of the Yi family suddenly changed to the foot of Duan Ren Peak. Yu Qingcheng threw herself into his arms without hesitation. He hugged Yu Qingcheng's slender waist and smelled the faint peach blossom fragrance from her green hair. Finally, the scene changed again. He was still holding a woman in his arms, but the woman was a naked woman. The scene also changed to the big bed in the backyard of the Dark Moon Inn in the Savage City. He began to caress the voluptuous and soft body of the coquettish proprietress. Then, he crossed over, got on the horse, and began to gallop to his heart's content. Then he slowly woke up. The scene changed again, and he was in the guest room of the Yi family's manor in the God City. The pink bed had changed into a soft white bed. However, in a daze, Yi Qinghan felt that the scene kept changing, but he was still hugging a woman in his arms? Why was this woman not wearing any clothes? And why did she look so familiar? He looked at the bed, at the pure and beautiful face. He looked at the faint traces of tears on the pretty face, and at the frowning brows that were slightly pained. He looked at the naked upper body of the girl on the bed, and the two huge peaks on her chest were covered with dark red love bites. Yi Qinghan felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His hair stood up straight. He wanted to scream, but he didn't dare to. He wanted to give himself 2 slaps to wake himself up, but he was afraid to surprise the girl who was sleeping soundly on the bed. He wanted to leave, but he didn't dare to leave, and he couldn't leave. The cold sweat on his forehead had already soaked the bed sheets, his back, his thighs, and his exposed dragon root that still had remnants of white matter on it. He was very afraid, very panicked, and didn't know what to do. The current situation seemed to be more terrifying than any desperate situation he had encountered in the past, because the girl lying on the bed was Yi Qingwu, Yi Qingyo's precious granddaughter, and Yi Qingyo's room was not far away, so he must have woken up by now. Yi Qingwu also got drunk last night, as Yi Qingyo's granddaughter, and also so beautiful. The most important thing was that she still didn't have a boyfriend. Of course, she became one of the targets for everyone to force her to drink. After a few rounds, she was more or less drunk. Originally, she didn't have the habit of being forced to drink, but when she saw Yu Qingcheng and Yi Qinghan together last night, she felt an indescribable sadness in her heart and wanted to get drunk. But unfortunately, Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingwu's rooms were arranged next to each other. So, in a daze, Yi Qingwu didn't even know that she had entered the wrong room. Last night, she also had a dream. She dreamed that Yi Qinghan married her, bowed to heaven and earth, entered the bridal room, and even did something shameful that made her feel both pain and love. Although it was very painful, every time she saw Yi Qinghan's delicate and pretty face in a daze, she couldn't help but smile. For example, right now, she opened her eyes slightly and looked at Yi Qinghan's naked upper body, who was looking at her with tender feelings, and she couldn't help but smile shyly, But after a moment, her smile immediately froze. Looking at her naked upper body, looking at Yi Qinghan's naked upper body, she hurriedly pulled the blanket to cover herself, opened her mouth wide, and prepared to scream with all her might. But the next moment, a huge palm suddenly covered her mouth, and at the same time, Yi Qinghan's panicked voice rang in her ears. "Don't scream. Don't scream. We can talk things over. You must take responsibility for me. Tui, I will definitely take responsibility for you." Chapter 157. Don't scream, Grandaunt. If your grandpa hears it again, he'll kill me. I know you're very excited right now, and I'm very excited too. Not excited. What did you call me again? Oh, right. I'm very flustered. We're all flustered. Actually, this matter. I don't know what I'm doing either. I said it wrong again. Anyway, I'll take responsibility for you. Don't scream, okay? Anything can be discussed, as long as you don't scream. If you agree, blink a few times, and I'll let go of my hand. Yi Qinghan stared blankly at Yi Qingwu, not knowing what to do. Then, he realized that Yi Qingwu had suddenly woken up and even smiled at him. At that moment, he was a little dumbfounded and even more confused. However, when he saw Yi Qingwu suddenly pull up the blanket to cover the beautiful view of her chest and open her mouth wide to scream, he suddenly woke up. Where is this place? This was the Yi family manor in the Divine City. All right, it didn't matter which manor this was. The problem was that in this manor, Yi Qingyo had slept in a room not far away last night. If Yi Qingyo heard Yi Qingwu scream and rushed in to find the naked Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingwu, with his violent temper, he would probably kill Yi Qinghan. So, Yi Qinghan immediately turned over and jumped up. He reached out to cover Yi Qingwu's mouth and hurriedly explained in a soft voice. His eyes were full of sincerity and sincerity. After a short moment of silence, two clear streams of tears suddenly flowed from the corners of Yi Qingwu's eyes. She stared at Yi Qinghan for a long time, then finally blinked and nodded. Phew! Yi Qinghan's entire body relaxed, and he felt weak, as if he had been fighting for a few days and nights. Seeing that Yi Qingwu nodded with certainty, he slowly loosened his palm. However, he did not dare to quickly retract his hand. Instead, he slowly stepped back, as if he was afraid that Yi Qingwu would lie to him and scream again. But, after a moment, Yi Qingwu took 2 deep breaths and looked at Yi Qinghan. Just as she was about to say something, she suddenly closed her eyes as if she had seen something terrifying. She opened her mouth wide and was about to scream again. Granted, why are you screaming again? Didn't you promise me just now? Yi Qinghan hurriedly rushed up again and covered her mouth, begging her repeatedly. But Yi Qingwu closed her eyes. Her pretty face suddenly turned bright red, and then the redness quickly spread down to her neck. Even her cute little pink ears looked like they had been roasted. She did not speak. She just stretched out a snow-white hand and pointed at Yi Qinghan. Huh? Looking at Yi Qingwu's abnormal behavior, Yi Qinghan looked in the direction of Yi Qingwu's finger. He found that there was an angry dragon standing there, facing the sky. At this moment, as his body moved, it was swaying with the wind. Whoosh! In an instant, Yi Qinghan's face quickly became redder than Yi Qingwu's. At the same time, he jumped off the bed at the fastest speed he had ever done in his life. Then, he put on his clothes at the fastest speed he had ever done in his life. He picked up the clothes that were scattered on the ground and put them on. Oh, that I put on my clothes? You should put them on too. Don't catch a cold. Yi Qinghan put on his clothes and looked at Yi Qingwu, who was covering the quilt and lowering her head in silence. He was at a loss of what to do, so he rubbed his hands and said, Throw the clothes over. Yi Qingwu did not raise her head. She only let out a trembling voice. Yes, yes. Seeing that Yi Qingwu did not lose her mind and make a fuss, Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. He hurriedly picked up the clothes that were scattered on the ground and was about to throw them over. However, when he saw a thin piece of clothing that had been torn into strips, his face that had just recovered a little bit of calmness turned red again. He said embarrassedly, the doo-doo is so tattered. You can still wear it like this? You bastard. Throw it over and turn around. Yi Qingwu quickly raised her head and glanced at it. She immediately said shyly and angrily, "Ah!" Yi Qinghan hurriedly threw it on the bed and hurriedly turned around. After a moment, there was a swishing sound of clothes being put on behind him. Thinking of Yi Qingwu's blood-curdling body when he woke up in the morning, and then thinking of the doo-doo that was torn beyond recognition, Yi Qinghan's lower abdomen began to heat up again. I'm done." Yi Qingwu's weak voice came from behind. Yi Qinghan hurriedly withdrew his thoughts. He twitched the corner of his mouth and turned around. He looked at Yi Qingwu, who was sitting weakly on the bed with a face full of tears and hugging her knees. It was unknown what she was thinking. Yi Qinghan's heart was suddenly surrounded by a strong sense of guilt. How could he do such a beastly thing to Yi Qingwu? Moreover, it seemed to be a very violent kind. "Sister Yi Qingwu, Yi Qinghan rubbed his hands. He wanted to say something to comfort Yi Qingwu, but he did not know what to say. He could only embarrassedly twitch the corner of his mouth. "You're still not going out? When my grandfather finds out that you're in my room, aren't you afraid that he'll find out and kill you?" Yi Qingwu bit her lips and glared at Yi Qinghan as she said angrily, "Sister Yi Qingwu, I'll take responsibility." Looking at Yi Qingwu, who was pretending to be strong, but her body was trembling uncontrollably, Yi Qinghan could not help but have a strong desire to embrace the girl in front of him and comfort her. However, he knew that if he rushed forward now, he would definitely be kicked away by Yi Qingwu. "I don't want to talk about this now. I need to calm down. You're still not going out?" Yi Qingwu's heart seemed to be in a mess. She did not listen to any of Yi Qinghan's words. She bulged her eyes and raised her eyebrows angrily. "All right, don't be angry. I'll go out. I'll go out right now. We'll talk about responsibility later." Seeing that Yi Qingwu was angry, Yi Qinghan knew that he would not have a good time if he did not leave now. He hurriedly waved his hand and spoke politely as he walked out. However, after a while, Yi Qinghan came back in again. His expression was full of embarrassment. He was a little bashful as he rubbed his hands and said, "Sister Xiao Wu, this seems to be my room." The two of them panicked for a while. Yi Qinghan hurriedly sent Yi Qingwu back to her room like a thief. It was already noon. Fortunately, everyone had drunk too much last night. Basically, no one had woken up. Yi Qingyo and the clan elders had woken up a long time ago. Knowing that they had drunk too much, they did not care about them. They just drank tea and chatted in the hall. After settling everything, Yi Qinghan hurriedly returned to his room and began to tidy up. His room had become extremely messy after yesterday's crazy battle. When he saw the bright red stain on the snow-white bedsheet, he could not help but curse himself 10 times in his heart. Beast. How could he get drunk and have sex? How could he get drunk and have sex? Of course, for a beauty of Yi Qingwu's level, he naturally felt that he could get drunk and should get drunk. However, getting drunk and having sex, not only did he not taste anything, he also had to bear the risk of being killed by Yi Qingyo. This was not worth it, was it? Chapter 158. Yi Qinghan tidied up everything and steadied his mind for a while before gritting his teeth and pretending to be relaxed as he walked into the hall of the manor. Most of the people in the hall had already woken up. They had finished their breakfast and were chatting in the hall. "Qinghan, come and have a seat. I'm not trying to nag you youngsters, but you need to practice your alcohol tolerance. When I was young, I drank for 3 days straight without getting drunk." Yi Qinghan hurriedly laughed and joked when he saw Yi Qinghan walk out. His words were full of concern for Yi Qinghan. Everyone in the hall turned to look at Yi Qinghan in unison. Yu Qingsheng, who was sitting to the side, gave him a concerned look, as if asking why he had woken up so late. That's right. Old phone, didn't drink any less than you last night, but I woke up a few hours earlier than you. You can't do it, kid." Feng Zi also grinned and teased. "Brat, your old phone? What am I? Little phone?" Feng Zi's words drew a round of reprimand from an elder of the Feng family. This elder was Feng Zi's uncle, and when he saw Feng Zi's impolite words, he actually dared to call himself elder in front of Yi Qinghu and the other elders. The hall was filled with laughter and joy. This was a great victory for the House of Aries in the prefecture battle. Most importantly, Yi Qinghan did not hog all the points for himself, allowing the other clans to receive many points that could be exchanged for a large number of treasures. Of course, they were secretly delighted. Why isn't Xiao Wu up yet? Did you see her when you woke up? Yi Qinghan had a guilty conscience and nodded shyly at the crowd, not daring to speak further. However, he had just sat down next to Yi Qinghan when the latter unexpectedly turned his head and asked him about Yi Qingwu in a friendly manner. No. Why did I see her when I woke up? I wasn't in the same room as her. I didn't see her. Should I send someone up to ask? Yi Qinghan felt guilty as he looked at Yi Qinghan's bulging eyes. He hurriedly tried to explain himself, but he almost spilled the beans in his panic, so he awkwardly explained himself. Yi Qingyo waved his hand and said nonchalantly, "Don't worry about her. She probably has a headache from drinking too much. After we eat, if she still hasn't woken up, then there's no need to wait for her. Let's go to the immortal incineration house together to exchange for a spirit pill. The patriarch has already sent word that he has already exchanged for a spirit pill. We're just waiting for this spirit pill of yours to save your sister." Really? Yi Qinghan almost jumped to his feet when he heard this. All of his worries and vexations were thrown off the divine mountain. He stood up with a thump and looked at Yi Qinghan with an expression of wild joy. When he saw Yi Qinghan, he nodded very seriously. The corners of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up into a smile. Then the smile widened, and the smile turned into a hearty laugh, and finally into a maniacal laugh. Looking at Yi Qinghan, who was laughing maniacally in the hall, not only did the crowd not feel any dissatisfaction or disgust towards him. Instead, they admired and liked him even more. They roughly understood Yi Qinghan's story. When they learned that he had killed a few core members of the Yi family because of his sister's death, and that he had crippled Yi Qingquang, who was the heir to the Yi family, without hesitation, and that he had killed Yi Rong in seconds, they were filled with endless love and admiration for Yi Qinghan's character of daring to love, hate, and kill. In order to win back Yi Qinghan's heart, the Yi family had no choice but to let him participate in the prefecture battle. In order to save his sister, Yi Qinghan had worked hard and crazily all along the way. In the end, through his own hard work and luck, Yi Qinghan had successfully obtained a large number of points and established an unprecedented victory for the House of Aries. At this moment, when Yi Qinghan learned that his sister was about to open for business and was awakened, he suddenly laughed unscrupulously. In this regard, not only did the crowd not feel the slightest disgust or disgust, but they also liked and admired his genuine temperament and character. On the contrary, he was very fond of and admired Yi Qinghan's genuine and affectionate character. At the same time, he placed Yi Qinghan in the category of friends that could be made the most. Everyone saw Yi Qinghan's crazy laughter and was ecstatic. Yu Qingsheng, however, saw the faint tears in Yi Qinghan's eyes under his crazy laughter. At this moment, not only was she not happy, she instead felt heartache and grievance. She was already faintly proud. She felt heartache for the heavy burden that Yi Qinghan carried, for all the grievances that he had experienced, and proud that she was able to have such an indomitable man. Let's go to the immortal burning house. Yi Qinghan laughed wildly for a while and didn't say anything else. He turned around and walked out resolutely. At this moment, he didn't want to wait a moment longer. He wanted to use the fastest speed to exchange for spirit pills and return to the Yi family. He wanted to return to the side of that white-haired, white-clothed girl and save that girl. After that, he wouldn't be separated from her for even a moment. This little bastard. Let's go. Everyone, let's go to the immortal burning house together. Seeing that Yi Qinghan had already disappeared at the entrance of the hall, Yi Qingyo helplessly sighed, stood up, and said to everyone with a smile, "Let's go, let's go. Let's exchange for treasures." Feng Zihua hurriedly also stood up and followed with quick steps. The immortal burning tower was located on the east side of the divine city. It was an organization that specialized in handling the affairs of the three manors. The tower master was the burning god guard. At this moment, a group of people from the House of Ares directly rushed towards the immortal burning tower. Along the way, all the famous people in the divine city turned to look at them. The residents of the divine city were originally people from the three manors. Of course, when the god-slaying slayer built the divine city, 10,000 people were transferred from each of the three manors. After thousands of years, the number of residents in the divine city gradually increased. The divine city had also been expanded several times, and the population soared. This time, the House of Ares really won a great victory. Not only did they not lose many people, they also occupied two manors by themselves and killed the demon god and barbarian god manor. Although the residents of the divine city were descendants of the three manors, after thousands of years, they already considered themselves to be high and mighty people of the divine city. They no longer admitted that they were descendants of the three manors. Yeah, I heard that there's a human called Yi Qinghan. He's so fierce. I heard that he even became the son of Yao Xie. Yesterday, Yao Xie was just about to go crazy in the Glory Square. Yi Qinghan, I wonder if that's Yi Qinghan? I heard that he's only 16 years old. So fierce. The residents of the divine city began to discuss. Although they didn't know much about the manor wars, they were still people of the divine city. Naturally, they were more informed. At this time, when they saw the people from the House of Ares rushing towards the immortal burning tower, they couldn't help but discuss. Yi Qinghan didn't have the mood to listen to the discussions of the passers-by. He angrily rushed into the immortal burning tower and directly said to the few golden-robed people inside, "House of Ares, Yi Qinghan is here to exchange points." The hall of the immortal burning tower was large enough to accommodate hundreds of people. However, there were less than 10 golden-robed people in the hall. In the middle of the hall, there was a golden-robed person who didn't cover her head, revealing a mature and beautiful face. It was actually a woman. "Greetings, burning god guard. My son doesn't understand etiquette and has offended you. Please forgive him." Yi Qinghan was the second to rush into the immortal burning tower. However, when he saw the golden-robed woman sitting in the middle, he was startled. He hurriedly glared at Yi Qinghan and cupped his hands in salute. "Greetings, burning god guard." The elders behind him also followed in and saluted together. "It's all right. No need to be so courteous." The burning god guard lightly waved her hand and said with a smile on her mature face. Looking at the situation, this burning god guard didn't seem to be young, but her voice was gentle and clear like a young girl's. The burning god guard then turned his head to look at Yi Qinghan. Finally, his eyes fixed on the yellow ring on Yi Qinghan's left hand and said, "You are Yi Qinghan, right? Not bad. Heroes have always been young. You have a lot of points, more than 20,000. What do you want to exchange for?" "Spirit pill." Yi Qinghan hurriedly cupped his hands in salute and said respectfully, "I've heard a little about your matter. I'm also quite touched. A young hero with unparalleled affection. Take this spirit pill." The burning god guard lightly smiled again. There was a hint of faint admiration in his eyes. With a wave of his left hand, a green jade box on the table flew directly toward Yi Qinghan. Looking at the jade box that was glowing with a beautiful green light, Yi Qinghan hurriedly reached out to receive it. His heart was abnormally excited. The spirit pill was finally in his hands. His hard work had finally paid off. His sister could be saved. Don't fight, the spirit chi will evaporate. This spirit pill is the real deal. Hurry up and thank the burning god guard. Yi Qinghan was just about to open the jade box to see what the legendary spirit pill looked like when he received Yi Qingyo's sound transmission. He didn't dare to be careless and put away the jade box. Once again, he deeply bowed to the burning god guard. No need to be so courteous. These are the treasures for this sect battle. Among them, there is 1 low-ranked sacred tool and 50 high-ranked precious tools. Everyone discuss for a while and take turns to exchange. Chapter 159, Low-Grade Saint Artifact? Everyone looked at the back of the burning god guards, their eyes burning with passion. The number 1 treasure, the spirit pill, had been announced before the Divine City Prefecture battle began. However, no one expected that there would be another Saint artifact. Saint artifacts were good stuff. Even the 5 great families only had 1 or 2 Saint artifacts. The Yi family had only announced one, Yi Tianlong's Slaughter God Saber. In fact, the Yi family had 5 Saint artifacts, but they had not announced them. The other great families also had 4 or 5 Saint artifacts, but they would not announce them. However, even the 5 great families, who were as rich as countries, only had a few Saint artifacts. It could be seen that these Saint artifacts were rare and precious. Perhaps only the Divine City would be rich enough to not treat Saint artifacts as treasures. The eyes of the various family representatives began to shine. If they could obtain a Saint artifact, then their family's strength would rise by a level. However, when the golden-robed envoy from the Burning God House took out the list of rewards for this prefecture battle and showed it to everyone, everyone sighed and had a look of realization. The Saint artifact was broken. Strictly speaking, only a quarter of it was an arm guard. According to the information, this was originally the left arm guard of an upper-grade Saint artifact, the Fire God Battle Armor. However, the other 3 Saint artifacts had been lost, so this arm guard had lost its ability to protect its owner. Therefore, it was judged to be a lower-grade Saint artifact. Gee! Countless people shook their heads and sighed. Moreover, more people revealed looks of disdain. Without the ability to protect its owner, it could not be called a Saint artifact for a long time. Moreover, it was the cheapest arm guard of all armors. This thing could actually be passed off as a Saint artifact. Most importantly, it could be exchanged for such a high amount of points, the same price as the Spirit Pill. One had to know that an upper-grade artifact, especially a weapon or a full set of armor, was only around 6,000 to 7,000 points. Therefore, everyone looked at the information of the Saint artifact below. Yi Qingyo also sighed. If this arm guard was just a small inner armor, he would not hesitate to ask Yi Qinghan to exchange it for it. However, it was just an arm guard. The points were not worth it. It would be better to exchange it for an upper-grade armor. After all, the arm was not the most lethal part of the body. The body was. Yi Qinghan also sighed. Originally, he had exchanged for the Spirit Pills and still had nearly 20,000 points left. If the sacred tool was completed, he would have exchanged for it even if he had to use up all his points. After all, he was well aware of the might of a sacred artifact. After escaping from death many times, he understood how important a sacred artifact was to a cultivator. Boss, quickly replace that arm guard. This arm guard is a super treasure. Just as Yi Qinghan was preparing to follow the others to search for treasures and other treasures, he wanted to understand them beforehand so that when it was his turn, he would be able to exchange for them. However, Xiaohei's voice transmission suddenly rang in his mind. Super good treasure? Xiaohei, what's going on? Yi Qinghan was shocked and hurriedly asked. Since even Yi Qingyo thought that this thing was not worth this price, how could Xiaohei be so sure? I don't know the details, but I feel that this thing is definitely a good treasure. Trust me, you can just exchange for it. Xiaohei's explanation was very vague, but it was unusually firm. Yi Qinghan could not help but nod silently. In his heart, Xiaohei was not as simple as a beast. Ever since Xiaohei could communicate with him through voice transmission in the desolate mountain range, Yi Qinghan no longer treated him as a beast. Instead, he treated him as a person, a brother who would accompany him in battle. At this moment, Xiaohei asked him to do something for the first time, not to mention that this thing was a sacred artifact. Even if it was an ordinary piece of trash, he would not hesitate to exchange for it. Everyone looked at the things on the screen clearly and understood them. Then, they began to exchange for items. Yi Qinghan originally thought that since he had exchanged for the Spirit Pill first, it would be Long Seinen's turn to exchange for items. He did not expect that Long Seinen would once again propose to give Yi Qinghan an opportunity to exchange for his rights, in order to repay him for his contribution to the House of Ares in the Prefectural War. Of course, no one would have any objections to this proposal. If Yi Qinghan was not around, presumably many of them would not have the opportunity to exchange for treasures, and many of them would remain on Netherworld Island forever, turning into dust and nourishing the flowers and plants there. exchange for the sixth high-grade treasure. Of course, Yi Qinghan would not act pretentiously. Seeing that everyone was so insistent, he did not refuse. However, when they were exchanging for treasures, Yi Qingyo immediately transmitted a message to him. The sixth treasure was a set of dragon scale armor. The entire set was made of 8th grade silver dragon scales, and its defensive power was extremely strong. It could be said to be a top-grade treasure among high-grade treasures. Yi Qingyo knew that Yi Qinghan did not have any armor, so he naturally chose the best one for him. I choose that sacred artifact. Deduct the points directly from my ring, and the 10,000 points just now. Yi Qinghan did not follow Yi Qingyo's instructions. Instead, he extended his left hand and pointed at the second-ranked sacred artifact, the Fire God's Arm Guard. Wow! Everyone was in an uproar. They all felt that Yi Qinghan was young and immature, thinking that the sacred artifact was the best and wasting so many points for nothing. Yi Qingyo transmitted a message to Yi Qinghan. Yu Qingcheng also faintly shook her head at Yi Qinghan. However, Yi Qinghan's stubbornness seemed to have flared up, and he insisted on the arm guard. Yi Qinghan, are you sure? I will directly remove your ring and deduct your points. The golden-robed emissary did not say much and only said coldly, I'm sure. Yi Qinghan firmly said, Good. The emissary did not say anything else. He extended a pale hand and directly suspended it above Yi Qinghan's ring. Then, a green stream of qi flowed out from his palm. The yellow ring on Yi Qinghan's middle finger directly separated from his finger and quickly flew into the golden-robed emissary's hand. This is the sacred artifact, the Fire God's Arm Guard. You have a total of 26,300 points. After deducting the divine spirit pills and the sacred artifact, you still have 6,300 points left. May I ask, do you want to continue exchanging your remaining points in the Divine City, or do you want to return to the Dragon City to exchange them? The golden-robed emissary took a fiery red jade box from another emissary and directly handed it to Yi Qinghan. Then, he directly recorded the remaining points on a record. Elder Yi Qingyo has full authority to deal with my remaining points. Yi Qinghan directly took the jade box and directly put it into his clothes. Then he clasped his hands towards the crowd and said, Everyone, properly exchange your points. I drank too much last night and my head hurts a little. I will return to the manor to rest first. With that, he directly walked back to the manor under the teasing of the crowd and the worried expression of Yu Qingcheng. Yi Qingyo nodded and said to Yi Ping behind him, Yi Ping, you go back with Yi Qinghan. Everyone continue. This child's alcohol tolerance is too low. We have to train more in the future. Miss Long, it's your turn. Of course, Yi Qinghan was not feeling dizzy because of the hangover, but he was worried about Yi Qingwu, who was in the manor. With the spiritual divine pills in hand, he needed to return to the Yi family as soon as possible. Thus, he wanted to see if Yi Qingwu's body was better and if she could take the teleportation array with him to the Dragon City and then rush back to the Yi family. Seeing Yi Qinghan following behind him, Yi Qinghan suddenly thought of a problem and turned his head to ask, Elder Yi Ping, can the teleportation array in the Divine City directly send me to the Blue City? Of course not. The teleportation array in the Divine City can only send you to the main cities of the 3 big prefectures. Although the Blue City is the main city, it does not have the qualifications to directly send you there. Yi Ping looked at Yi Qinghan's anxious expression and secretly found it funny. Then, as if he suddenly thought of something, his footsteps paused, and he said with a puzzled expression, Young Master Han, I'm afraid that you won't be able to return to the Dragon City today. I received news today that there was a small problem with the teleportation array in the Divine City this morning. It is currently being repaired. I estimate that you will have to wait a few days. Yi Qinghan's footsteps also paused, and he said in astonishment, The teleportation array is broken. Chapter 160. The transportation array is spoiled, and it's spoiled in the morning? Yi Qinghan asked in astonishment. This transportation array spoiled right on time? Huh? Why was it not spoiled before or after, but but coincidentally spoiled today when the people from the House of Aries were preparing to teleport back to Dragon City. Could it be that there was some mystery behind this? Hee, young Master Han, don't worry. The transportation array at Dragon City is spoiled, and it was spoiled 2 days ago. Grand Elder has already investigated this, so there won't be any problems. Just wait a few days. Yi Ping saw Yi Qinghan's worry and hurriedly explained. Actually, when they first received the news, they also thought there was some conspiracy, but later they found out that there was a problem at Dragon City. Then there shouldn't be any problems, since it was just a matter of waiting a few days. All right then, just wait. Yi Qinghan shook his head helplessly. He had already waited for more than a year, so a few more days wouldn't make a difference. Inside the Yi family's manor, Yi Qinghan said he was back to rest, but he ran to Yi Qingwu's room. He had just done something bad last night, so if he didn't console her today, he would feel very apologetic. Of course, he was also worried that Yi Qingwu would find out about this. Although he was a little nervous and embarrassed to see Yi Qingwu, as a man, he felt that some things should be faced bravely and not avoided. After knocking more than 10 times, Yi Qingwu finally opened the door. Yi Qinghan hurriedly dashed in and looked at the pale Yi Qingwu. He was a little ashamed, a little guilty, and also very embarrassed. He rubbed his hands and said, "That, Sister Xiaowu, are you all right?" Silence. Yi Qingwu didn't say anything and still sat on the bed. She hugged her knees, leaned against the wall, and sat with her head lowered. "All right, you haven't had breakfast yet. You need to eat. What do you want to eat? I'll bring it over for you." Seeing that Yi Qingwu didn't speak, Yi Qinghan felt even more embarrassed. He twitched his mouth and laughed dryly, then continued. Silence. It was still silence. Yi Qingwu shook her head slightly and rejected Yi Qinghan's proposal. "As Sister Xiaowu, don't be like this. If you want to hit me or scold me, I'm willing. Don't be so silent." Yi Qinghan was anxious. If this went on, something bad would happen. Looking at Yi Qingwu's pale face, he felt distressed. No matter what, Yi Qingwu was his woman. There was still silence. The atmosphere in the room became awkward and dull. Pa! 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 There was no other way. Yi Qinghan's mind raced for a few rounds at high speed. He clenched his teeth and started to slap his face hard. Palm prints quickly covered Yi Qinghan's entire face. His delicate, smiling face started to turn white and red. "What are you doing? Still not stopping?" Yi Qinghan's trick had finally worked. Yi Qingwu looked at Yi Qinghan, who kept slapping her face hard. Her delicate face was full of red palm prints. She quickly stood up and said angrily, "Sister Xiaowu, I'm a beast. I'm an animal. I've ruined your innocence. I'm sorry. Please punish me. How about you hang me on a tree and beat me 8 to 10 times? Whip and candle, I won't make a sound." Yi Qinghan looked remorseful and said sincerely, "Get lost, you bastard. What nonsense are you talking about?" Yi Qingwu's tears turned into laughter, but she immediately realized that she shouldn't laugh. She quickly pulled her face and looked away. Sister Xiaowu, this is a sacred bracer that I just exchanged for. I'm giving it to you. This is a good thing." Yi Qinghan saw that his words were effective. He quickly took out a fiery red jade box and handed it over. To deal with the girl, one had to strike while the iron was hot. Take advantage of her good mood to coax her and divert her attention. Then this matter would be completely settled. Sacred bracer? Yi Qinghan's trick worked again. When Yi Qingwu heard that it was a sacred bracer, she immediately turned her head and looked at the red box in bewilderment. A sacred bracer was a treasure of heaven and earth. She was slightly touched that Yi Qinghan gave it to her. It's not really a sacred bracer. It doesn't have a protector or a spirit. However, the people of the Divine City define it as a sacred artifact. I reckon it can be considered as an extremely strong defensive arm guard. Yi Qinghan hurriedly opened the jade box and showed it to Yi Qingwu. How terrifying. I don't want it. When the box was opened, Yi Qingwu and Yi Qinghan were shocked. Although this bracer was made of fiery red, tiny scales, there was a sinister and terrifying demon head on the top of the bracer. When the lines on the entire body were combined, it actually gave off an evil feeling. It does look a bit scary. But other than this, I don't have anything good to give you. Yi Qinghan rubbed his nose in embarrassment. He didn't think that this thing would look so evil and scary. Of course, girls wouldn't like it. But he really didn't have anything good to take out. Although he still had a sacred bracer, the bronze ring, he couldn't take it off after the Savage Mountain Range automatically protected its owner. As for the treasured bracer, the blue dragon dagger, Yi Qingwu probably wasn't used to it. There was also the inner armor, but it was a man's style. Moreover, it wouldn't be easy for him to take it off in this situation, right? Who wants your broken things? Also, you want to use these broken things to send this sister away? Yi Qingwu saw that Yi Qinghan was racking his brains over what to give her. Her complexion turned slightly better, and she said angrily, there's hope. When Yi Qinghan saw Yi Qingwu's expression and tone, he was overjoyed in his heart. It seemed that this lass didn't have much anger or resistance towards him for taking her virginity. His complexion became even more sincere as he solemnly said, of course not. I'm prepared to give you my most important treasure to make up for the wrong thing I did last night. And this treasure can be said to be priceless. It's hard to see even once in 1,000 years. Moreover, it will continue to rise in value in the future. The most important thing is that this treasure can accompany you for a lifetime and make you happy forever. You actually have such a precious treasure? What is it? Yi Qingwu was completely confused by Yi Qinghan's words. She blinked her big eyes and asked in puzzlement. This treasure is Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan grinned. His serious and solemn expression immediately turned into a mischievous one. He said with a charming smile, Sister Xiao Wu, I'm prepared to give it to you. Sister Xiao Wu, I'm going to give myself to you. Think about it. Someone like me who is affectionate, approachable, willing to help others, self-sacrificing, generous, chivalrous, broad-minded, hard-working, heaven-defying. Wait, such a good person. Wouldn't he be priceless and hard to find in 10,000 years? Moreover, I'm still young and have unlimited potential in the future. Moreover, I can accompany you for a lifetime and make you happy forever. What do you think? TSK. Yi Qingwu blushed at Yi Qinghan's words. For 20 years, she had never heard such bold words of love and such shameless boasting. For a moment, her pretty face seemed to be on fire. She snorted and lowered her head shyly without saying anything. If you don't say anything, I'll take it that you agree. I'll count to 3. If you don't say anything, I'll take it that you agree. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Yi Qingwu, you're mine from now on. Yi Qinghan saw that his trick had worked. He continued to strike the iron while it was hot. He wanted to thoroughly take down Yi Qingwu. Then, he could have Qingwu. Go to hell. How can you count like this? You're a big bastard. I don't care. You're my wife from now on. I'll kill you. After a moment, Yi Qingwu's angry voice and Yi Qinghan's dissolute laughter came from the room. Chapter 161. Xue Wuhan felt wronged, extremely wronged. He used to be the young master of the Xue family, the successor of the next patriarch, the young master of the drifting snow city. He was the center of attention, welcomed everywhere. But now, he was holed up in a small building in the divine city. He was told that he could not go out for 5 years, or else he would die. The building belonged to Tu Qianjun. Although it wasn't big, the environment was not bad. There were several servants and maids, so he didn't have to worry about food and drinks. A young master of a family who was used to living a luxurious life, surrounded by followers, and loved to play was told that he had to stay in a building and was not allowed to go out. Moreover, he had to stay there for 5 years. How could he endure such a boring life? How could he endure the days that were like a prison? However, Xue Wuheng knew that he had no choice but to endure it even if he could not endure it. Because, as soon as he went out of the building, he would be discovered by the 4 families and the spies of the Dragon City. Then no one would be able to protect him. On the Dark Island, Tu Qianjun had given him an order, a pledge of allegiance to the Divine City, to help him kill Yi Qinghan. He didn't hesitate. Not to mention Tu Qianjun's order, the hatred between him and Yi Qinghan was enough for him to take action. Therefore, When he saw Yi Qing Han for the first time, he immediately used the invisible worm on him. He also sent 2 locating crystal balls to Yao Kaka and Man Gone through the messengers in the Divine City. He thought that with the power of the Monster Clan and the Barbarian Clan, killing Yi Qing Han would be as easy as stepping on an ant. But he didn't expect that Yi Qing Han could escape alive, and even had a fortuitous encounter. He alone could defeat thousands of soldiers and horses, and even killed Yao Kaka. After he received the news, he didn't hesitate and fled in the night. He spent more than half a year in a cave. When the final battle was over, he didn't enter the Scarlet Plain, but went to the temporary headquarters. After the final battle, the people of the Scarlet Plain would be teleported directly to the God City. The teleportation array of the temporary headquarters would also be open for a month. Those who were not in the Scarlet Plain could teleport to the Battle Island through the temporary headquarters and then to the God City. After a few days and nights of wandering, Xue Wuhan finally arrived at the Divine City the night before yesterday. He was brought into the Immortal Slaughtering Tower through the token that Tu Qianjun gave him. He thought that he had sacrificed so much for Tu Qianjun. Tu Qianjun would definitely put him in an important position and take good care of him. He would directly become a member of the Divine City's Immortal Slaughtering Tower and be bestowed with high-grade cultivation methods and holy tools. Only, he didn't even get to see Tu Qianjun's face before he was directly brought here. Furthermore, he was told that he had to stay here for 5 years. Once he stepped out of the tower, he would undoubtedly die. He didn't understand what was going on. He was terrified. He wanted to go out of the building to take a look, but he was afraid that he would really die. It wasn't until this morning, when Tu Qianjun finally sent someone to explain everything to him, that he completely understood. Tu Qianjun had been imprisoned for 5 years. Everything that he had done had been exposed. Yi Qingyo was currently offering a high-grade treasure as a reward for his whereabouts. It was probably because of Tu Qianjun that the Massacre God Guards had arranged a tower for him. Now that everything had been exposed, the House of Ares wouldn't be able to tolerate him anymore. Although he didn't know if he would implicate the Xue clan, he knew that once he appeared in the House of Ares, he would definitely die. In fact, he already knew this beforehand and was mentally prepared for it. What he didn't expect was that God City actually couldn't tolerate or protect him now. Even the big tree that he had always wanted to rely on, Tu Qianjun, was imprisoned. It was very obvious that the Massacre God Guards wouldn't give a damn about a young master like him. They had already given him a lot of face by temporarily giving him a tower to stay in. Now that he had become a stray dog, he didn't know if the Xue clan would be implicated. Tu Qianjun was imprisoned, and he was also imprisoned. His future was bleak and bleak. How did things turn out like this? How did things turn out like this? This wasn't the life that he wanted. It wasn't the life that he had expected. Therefore, for an entire day, Xue Wuhan's gray and black eyes were filled with grievance and anger. Rage and shame filled the entire tower. Yi Qinghan's mood was very good, and he felt rather good. He had inexplicably slept with Yi Qingwu. After an entire morning of hard work, he finally settled this matter. Although Yi Qingwu didn't express it clearly, Yi Qinghan could tell from many details that Yi Qingwu actually didn't reject him. In fact, she even liked him a little. He had obtained a beautiful wife out of thin air. Furthermore, she was the kind that had power and influence. Of course, he wasn't in a good mood. Moreover, towards Yi Qingwu, he originally felt more gratitude and admiration. However, after the skin contact last night, he couldn't help but like Yi Qingwu no matter how he looked at her. Her every frown and smile, her pure and pretty face, and her devilish figure. Any man who didn't like her would definitely be a castrated man. When he first saw Yi Qingwu in the Yi clan, he was conquered by her charm. Of course, at that time, his status in the Yi clan was very low. He could only look up to a beauty like Yi Qingwu. After that, he didn't have the time to think about these things during the mansion battle. At Duanren Peak, his strength had greatly improved and his worries had been resolved. However, at that time, he was in the honeymoon period with Yu Qingqing. Of course, he didn't have the time to think about other women. Last night, after a violent drunkenness and an exciting erotic dream, he accidentally obtained Yi Qingwu's body. Of course, He wouldn't let go of such a heaven-sent opportunity. He resolutely and decisively captured Yi Qingwu. He believed that as long as Yi Qingwu didn't resist and didn't hate him, he would capture her sooner or later. After all, he had already obtained her body. So, sooner or later, her heart would also be completely conquered. What are you thinking about? Little bastard, why are you smiling so lewdly? At this time, Yi Qinghan was at the side of a garden in the manor. He was silently thinking about how to completely capture Yi Qingwu. He didn't expect that a figure would suddenly appear beside him. Hello, Supreme Elder. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm thinking about some things that happened in the mansion battle. Why are you looking for me? Yi Qinghan quickly turned his head and saw Yi Qingyu slowly walking over. He was startled and thought that the matter between him and Yi Qingwu had been exposed. I'm here to ask you, why did you choose such a useless sacred tool in the morning? Yi Qingyu didn't seem to know about the matter between Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingwu. Instead, he asked about the immortal burning building in the morning. I suddenly received a message from Xiaohe. He said that this sacred tool is a super treasure. Seeing that Yi Qingyu wasn't asking about Yi Qingwu, Yi Qinghan relaxed and quickly explained. Yi Qingyu raised his eyebrows and said with some surprise, "Your sacred beast said that? Take out that sacred tool arm guard and let me take a closer look. Is it really a good treasure?" Chapter 162. Upon hearing this, Yi Qinghan hurriedly took out the arm guard. This arm guard was made up of small fiery red scales. It was soft and very comfortable to the touch. However, there was a frightening and ferocious demon head on top of the arm guard. It was very lifelike, and if worn on the arm, it would look like a little demon was clinging to the arm. This thing doesn't look very special. Apart from the strange material, it's very ordinary. Yi Qingyu took the arm guard and carefully examined it for a while. He also used his soul power to examine it, but didn't find anything special. After a moment of silence, he suddenly threw the arm guard into the air. Then, a cyan stream of air shot out from his left hand and fiercely collided with the arm guard. Pung! The cyan stream of air fiercely collided with the fiery red arm guard, but the arm guard suddenly burst with a dazzling red light. The red light flashed and quickly disappeared. Then the arm guard was sent flying. Yi Qinyu's eyes flashed. He turned his hand into a claw and grabbed the arm guard in the distance. Then he carefully examined it for a while before laughing and saying, "It's indeed a good item. Unexpectedly, my attack didn't damage it in the slightest. Its defense is very strong. And little Han, take it and wear it. This thing can probably save your life in times of danger." Yi Qinghan also clearly saw the red light just now and happily took it. Then he quickly took off his shirt and wore the arm guard inside his right arm. This thing was unexpectedly undamaged by the attack of a Saint Realm martial artist. Although Yi Qingyu probably hadn't used his full strength, its defense was still very strong. Just now, you said you were thinking about the mansion battle? Don't worry. I'll help you get revenge for Shui Wuhan plotting against you. This time, go back and gather the patriarchs of the major clans and discuss it. Don't think too much about it. Yi Qingyu suddenly thought of something and comforted him. I'm not worried about that. You can make the decision. Yi Qinghan nodded slightly and suddenly thought of a question he wanted to ask a long time ago. Grand Elder, I want to ask you a question. You must answer me truthfully. Is there a god in this world? This question had been bothering Yi Qinghan for a long time. He had heard the legend of the God City since he was young. The legendary god of the God City, too, was actually a god. Furthermore, according to the legends of the Yi family, the disciples of the 5 great clans were all descendants of God. They had the blood essence of God, the mysterious summoning space, and the mysterious techniques of the 5 great clans. Once again, he saw the power of God. There were teleportation portals all over the continent, the wonders of Nether Island, and the mysteries of God City. Everything made Yi Qinghan very puzzled. Was there really a god in this world? If there was a god, then what did he look like? What kind of power did he have? Could he split the heavens and earth? Could it stop the flow of the river? Could he escape to the heavens and enter the earth? Or omnipotent God? Yi Qinghan frowned and looked at the joyful Yi Qinghan. He knew that Yi Qinghan was also very curious about the legendary god when he was Yi Qinghan's age. He was filled with all kinds of fantasies and longings. After a moment of silence, he said, "Originally, I wouldn't tell you these things before you reach the Emperor realm. I don't want to affect your state of mind and cultivation. Since you asked, I'll tell you. This world has a god, and there is more than one. There are three." This news shocked Yi Qinghan to the point where his whole body trembled. There were really gods in this world, and there were three of them? Yes. Actually, you all think too highly of gods. You must think that gods are omnipotent, right? Actually, gods are also a type of martial artist. However, they're just the most powerful martial artist. They're just one realm higher than the saint realm. We call this realm the god realm. I believe you also know that when a martial artist reaches the emperor realm, they need to start comprehending the laws of heaven and earth. The more laws they comprehend, the higher their realm will be. When you completely comprehend a law of heaven and earth to perfection, you will become a god. You will break through the saint realm and reach the god realm. Yi Qinghan spoke slowly and introduced the cultivation direction of the emperor realm to Yi Qinghan in advance. Although Yi Qinghan was only at the first level of the martial realm, and there was still a long distance between the divine city and dragon city to reach the emperor realm, Yi Qinghan's cultivation speed was indeed rare. However, Yi Qinghan's speed of advancement was indeed something that could only be seen once every 10,000 years. His comprehension ability was probably also very heaven-defying. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to jump so many realms in just a short period of a year just by relying on luck and hard work. His overall strength had also reached the peak of the Duke realm. Therefore, he broke the rules and explained to Yi Qinghan in advance. Yi Qinghan nodded in satisfaction when he saw that Yi Qinghan seemed to understand. He continued, "As for the god of this world, the master god of the divine city is undoubtedly one. Another one lives on the East Sea called the Hidden Island. He also calls himself the Island Master of the Hidden Island. In order to save your sister, the chief went to the Hidden Island and successfully exchanged for a spirit pill. There is also the most mysterious one. He lives in the dark forest, one of the three forbidden lands in the north. He has no name. We all call him Lord Devour. He is the king of the dark forest. As for the god that you think is omnipotent and can create the world, it is all fake. You know the saint realm in the house of Ares has the saint realm, and the demon saint has the demon shadow. You also saw the lion behind Yao Xia that day. The barbarian saint has the power of the barbarian god. Above the saint realm is the heavenly god realm. The most common and special skills of the heavenly god realm have two obvious points. First, they have an extremely long life force. Normally, a saint realm warrior can live up to 300 years, but if you break through to the heavenly god realm, you will have at least 10,000 years of life. Second, a heavenly god realm warrior can teleport. As for the other skills, it depends on the laws of heaven and earth that you have comprehended. 10,000 years of life. This is almost equivalent to immortality. Who can dodge teleportation? Who can kill it? Yi Qingyo's words and explanation had brought Yi Qinghan to a whole new level, a completely new realm, a realm that had never been known before and was incomparably mystical. Work hard. When you enter the Emperor realm, I will explain everything to you. You know too much now, so it is useless for you. What I want to tell you is that as long as you work hard, anyone can become a heavenly god realm warrior, a god." Yi Qinghan looked at Yi Qinghan, his eyes sparkling. He knew that his words had touched Yi Qinghan, so he didn't say anything more. He patted Yi Qinghan's shoulder and left. Immortality, teleportation, an invincible existence. The god Lord of the Divine City, the island master of the Hidden Island, Lord Devour? Yi Qinghan stood in the garden with a silly look for a long time. His mind was filled with the longing and fantasies of becoming a god realm warrior. It turned out that a god wasn't a god, but a powerful heavenly god realm warrior. Not everyone could succeed with their hard work. Although no one had ever become a god in the past several thousand years, it still gave Yi Qinghan a strong motivation. Work hard. As long as he worked hard, he could become a god in the legends. Although this path was vague and far, at least it was a hope, a peak that he could surpass. Chapter 163. Yi Tianlong was very excited. This kind of excitement caused his soul to tremble slightly. It was just like a year ago when he first learned that Yi Qinghan had a holy beast. Ever since Yi Dao died over a decade ago, he had been cold-hearted and went into seclusion. He no longer cared about the matters of the Yi family. He had not been excited or happy for over a decade. But a year ago, Yi Qingwu had resolutely crushed the communication jade token that Yi Qingyo had given him, alarming him. In the end, he had come to the enchanted garden and seen Yi Rong's corpse, the unconscious Yi Qingyu who had been sacrificed, and that unyielding youth standing in the middle of the field. At that time, he had been so excited that his soul had trembled. Thus, he had acted decisively. He had imprisoned Yi Jian, banished Yi Qingquang, and sent all the young elites of the family to Nether Island. He had even disgraced himself and gone to the East Sea to beg for a spirit pill. Everything had been for the sake of that youth, that grandson who had resolutely said that he would never call him grandfather again. Today, he had finally received a piece of news. It was an urgent letter from Yi Qingyo. He had received a letter that made his soul tremble with excitement once again. Yi Qinghan had broken through to the martial realm, and his body fusion technique had advanced. His current overall strength was invincible under the Emperor realm, absolutely invincible. He had slaughtered thousands of Yao and barbarians alone, and had even killed Yao Kaka. This was because his House of Ares had obtained an unprecedented victory in history. The hand holding the letter trembled slightly. It was not because he was crazy, but because he was too excited. The smile on his lips slowly widened until it turned into a wild laugh. "Family head, what great news is there?" The laughter startled Yi Baihu, who was outside the loft. Yi Baihu looked at the laughing Yi Tianlong with a puzzled expression. He understood Yi Tianlong, so he was even more puzzled. What had happened to make the old-fashioned and serious Yi Tianlong laugh like this? Yi Tianlong did not say anything and continued to laugh. He only handed the letter in his hand to Yi Baihu. Yi Baihu quickly skimmed through the letter, and his puzzled expression was quickly replaced by shock and ecstasy. They were extremely familiar with Yi Qingyo's notes. Since it was personally written by Yi Qingyo, this matter could not be wrong. A 16-year-old marshal. Most importantly, his heaven-defying body fusion could actually level up. Such an abnormal skill had actually leveled up, and it actually had the power of a godly skill. This was simply great news. If Yi Qinghan continued to cultivate at this speed, he would probably be able to threaten Sage Realm warriors once he stepped into the Emperor Realm in another 10 years. He didn't know how to describe such an abnormal cultivation speed and such abnormal skills. He could only say that it was too heaven-defying. Family head, nurture this kid well. Perhaps in the future, he might break through to the heavenly god realm. The Yi family might be able to restore the glory of the ancient god era. Yi Baihu sighed inwardly. Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he said this to Yi Tianlong. Yi Tianlong's eyes sparkled with joy. This is hard to say now. It's not like you don't know how difficult it is to break through to the heavenly god realm. However, I know that if this kid is nurtured well, he can at least lead the Yi family to glory for hundreds of years. Yes. I predict that the glory of the Yi family will be born from this kid. This kid has too many secrets. His future is limitless. Yi Baihu sighed as he thought of all the things that had happened to Yi Qinghan. In the past, he had been worried that Yi Qinghan, with his low strength, would be injured on Nether Island. He didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, this kid would actually be invincible on Nether Island. He carefully calculated in his mind. When this kid returned to the Yi family, he would ask him properly. Otherwise, he suddenly remembered a piece of news he had received this morning. He couldn't help but ask worriedly, "Family head, I received news this morning that the teleportation formation of Dragon City has been damaged." It will probably take 2 or 3 months to repair. Do you think that someone deliberately damaged it? The teleportation formation has been damaged? Yi Tianlong frowned slightly. He carefully digested this news. Unexpectedly, after a moment, he suddenly shouted, "Oh no, there must be a problem here. How could the teleportation formation have been damaged so coincidentally? It hasn't been damaged for more than 10 years. Now, it's damaged just as Lil Han is preparing to return?" Yi Tianlong and Yi Baihu looked at each other. They both felt that something was definitely wrong. After a moment, Yi Tianlong seemed to have thought of something. His expression suddenly darkened, and he shouted angrily. No, according to Yi Qinghan's mentality, he definitely wouldn't wait for a few months after knowing that I obtained the spirit pill. I'm afraid that he has already set off and rushed back to Tsang City. No, Baihu quickly brings some people to protect him. It would take at least a month to rush back to Tsang City. Most importantly, if they wanted to rush back in a straight line, they would have to pass through an unregulated place. It was one of the 3 most dangerous places on the continent, the Goddown Mountain. Yi Dao had been killed by the demon race at the Goddown Mountain. Thinking of this, Yi Baihu's expression changed several times. He didn't say anything and quickly prepared to go down the mountain to gather people. No, you stay at home and keep watch. I will personally bring people there. Yi Tianlong suddenly shouted as he paced back and forth. Then his figure suddenly dashed out. At the same time, he let out a loud roar that shook the entire Yi family. So, elders, gather at the torture chamber. Yi Tianlong's loud roar alarmed everyone in the Yi family. Yi Chong put away his spear. There was a shocked expression on his delicate face. Then, he put the spear on his back and quickly ran towards the torture chamber. Yi Tianqing put down the book in his hand. Yi Tianqing put down the teacup in his hand. Dozens of elders rushed to the entrance of the torture chamber immediately. They looked at each other in dismay. They didn't know why Yi Tianlong was so angry and why he gathered everyone in the torture chamber. Then, another elder offended Yi Tianlong's dragon might. Was the incident with Yi Jian from a year ago going to repeat itself? Swish! Yi Tianlong turned into a black shadow and flew over from the mountain behind the Yi family. Then he glanced at the elders present and quickly called out their names. Yi Chong, Yi Tianqing, Yi Quan. You guys come with me. The rest of you stay at the Yi family and listen to Yi Baihu's arrangements. Let's go. Not long after, the Yi clan's black shadows rose into the air and quickly flew southwest. The citizens of Tsang City were shocked. They didn't understand what was going on. Why did the Yi family send out so many experts? Were they going to slaughter the holy beast blue dragon in the dense fog forest? Yi Qinghan had indeed left the divine city. On the 3rd day, he received news from the divine city that the teleportation portal in Dragon City would need another 2 to 3 months to be repaired. Yi Qinghan found Yi Qingyo and requested to rush back. The divine city was located in the center of the 3 residences. If Yi Qinghan rushed back in a straight line, it would only take him 5 days to reach the House of Aries. Then, it would take him another half a month to reach Tsang City. Of course, if Yi Qingyo directly flew back with Yi Qinghan, it would only take 7 to 8 days. However, when she heard that Yi Qinghan wanted to go back, Yi Qingwu also hurriedly wanted to go back. When Yi Qinghan went back, Yi Qingqing definitely had to follow him to the Yi family and watch as Yi Qinghan woke up Yi Qingyu. Then, she could marry Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan, Yi Qingqing, and Yi Qingwu had all gone back. Feng Zi and Hua Zi also lost interest in staying. Yi Qingqing had promised to give each of them 2 tranquil lake girls. Of course, they also wanted to go back. Emperors could fly, so the elders could fly as well. Originally, Yi Qinghan wanted to ask Yi Qingyo and the elders to fly everyone back to Tsang City. However, Yi Qingyo immediately rejected this childish idea. Of course, Yi Qingyo, a sage, had no problem flying with a person. The elders also had no problem carrying people, but the young masters and young mistresses were the ones who had a problem. One had to know that flying at high speed in the air would cause them to suffer from strong air pressure. At their realm, they couldn't withstand it for a long time. Emperors could use their battle chi to protect themselves, but they couldn't protect the people they brought with them. If they flew slowly, they might as well take a carriage back. Therefore, after some discussion, they decided that Yi Qingyo would lead the team and the elders of the major clans in Dragon City would protect them together. They would first escort the young masters and young mistresses to Tsang City and wake up Yi Qinghan's sister. Then, they would gather the patriarchs of the major clans to discuss the Shui family. As for Yi Shisan and the elite disciples of the major clans, they were allowed to follow slowly back to the House of Aries. On the fourth day after the battle, 6 or 7 super luxurious and fast carriages drove out of Divine City and headed straight for the House of Aries. Inside the carriage, Yi Qingyo looked at Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingwu with a big smile. He looked outside and began to introduce the surrounding terrain to them. Little Han, in another day, we will arrive at the #1 forbidden ground, the Goddown Mountain. This is the birthplace of all the precious and saint artifacts on the continent. It is said that there are even divine artifacts there, but no one has been able to obtain them. The Goddown Mountain will open the heavenly path again in 5 years. If you become an emperor by then, I can let you go in to broaden your horizons and search for treasures. Chapter 164. God-Slaying Mountain. Yi Qinghan was sitting cross-legged in the carriage, pretending to be asleep with his eyes half closed. In fact, it was a little awkward to sit in the same carriage with Yi Qingwu and Yi Qingyo. He had secretly slept with their granddaughter, and now that the three of them were in the same carriage, he felt awkward no matter what he did. Therefore, apart from cultivating, he closed his eyes and remained silent. At this time, he heard Yi Qingyo mention God-Slaying Mountain and say that they would pass by God-Slaying Mountain tomorrow. Yi Qinghan opened her eyes in astonishment and listened attentively to his explanation. God-Slaying Mountain. This place was both familiar and strange to Yi Qinghan. It was familiar because this place was where Jiang Yi's father died. Back then, Yi Dao came to the fallen God Mountain alone and was killed by 4 upper-tier demon thearchs. By the time the Yi clan's rescue team arrived, Yi Dao was already on the verge of death. After being rescued and brought back to the Yi clan, Yi Dao left behind a few words and passed away. Therefore, he was very familiar with this place since he was a child. Of course, he didn't understand the specific situation of God-Slaying Mountain at all. Hearing Yi Qingyo's explanation, he hurriedly asked with great interest, "Supreme Elder, why does God-Slaying Mountain have treasured weapons and sacred weapons? And there are even divine weapons? What's so special about divine weapons? And why can't we go there until 5 years later?" "Yes, Grandpa. Can you take us in a play tomorrow? I heard that God-Slaying Mountain is the cave residence of an ancient giant god, and there are countless treasures inside. Grandpa, tell us quickly. I'm about to die of boredom." Next to him, Yi Qingwu also hurriedly joined in the fun. She had been bored for the past few days. With her grandfather next to her, she certainly wouldn't drink Yi Qinghan and talk too much. She couldn't even be too intimate with him, so she was a little bored. Since I have nothing to do, I'll tell you. Anyway, you'll have to go in to search for treasures in the future. Strictly speaking, God-Slaying Mountain isn't a mountain, but a passage connected to the spatial turbulence. Yi Qingyo touched Yi Qingwu's head and said with a doting smile. After pondering for a while, he began to explain to the two. Not a mountain? A passageway? What else? Space turbulence? This was the first time Yi Qinghan had heard of such a novel thing. So he asked with great interest, "Space turbulence. I'll explain these things to you after you enter the Emperor realm. You don't need to ask too many questions. Just listen carefully. Moreover, there are many questions that I can't explain clearly. They were all passed down by my ancestors." Yi Qingyo shook his head and did not answer Yi Qinghan's question. A long time ago, about 100,000 years ago, there was an extremely powerful god. Unfortunately, he was gravely wounded. Before he died, he hid all of his treasures in a place called the Soul Emperor Pavilion. Then, he created many small divine pavilions in the spatial turbulence of countless planes and set up connecting passages. These warriors from the material planes, within a certain range of strength, could enter the small divine pavilion to search for treasures every 10 years. If they were lucky enough to survive and obtain the most important treasure in the small divine pavilion, they would be able to enter the small divine pavilion to search for treasures. When this person became a god in the future, he would have the opportunity to enter the Soul Emperor Pavilion to search for treasures left behind by the ancient god. Yi Qingyo chuckled as he looked at Yi Qingwu and Yi Qinghan, who seemed to be listening to a fairy tale. Of course, he had the same expression when he first heard this story. He paused for a moment to allow the two to digest it before continuing. Fortunately, our Flame Dragon Plain, which is also the Flame Dragon Continent, also has a small divine pavilion in the spatial turbulence. The connecting passage is the God-slaying mountain. As for the realm of strength that our continent can enter, only the Emperor realm can enter. Those above or below this realm can't enter. In other words, those above the Emperor realm can't enter at all. Those below the Emperor realm who enter will definitely die. After Yi Qingyo's words fell, Yi Qingwu and Yi Qinghan were silent for a long time before they reacted. They looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. At the same time, the two of them thought that they were really two frogs at the bottom of a well. They had originally thought that their strength and knowledge were very powerful, but they didn't expect that the waters of the Flame Dragon Continent were so deep. Perhaps they had only seen a small corner of it. Then isn't the God-slaying mountain very dangerous? Yi Qingwu patted her chest to express her shock and asked with a tilt of her head. There are 3 trials in the God-slaying mountain. You must remember that you must be careful when you enter in the future to search for treasures. In the first trial, once you enter the God-slaying mountain, you will first enter an illusory realm. This is a powerful illusory realm set up by the ancient god. Those whose soul realm hasn't reached the Emperor realm will definitely never be able to walk out of this illusory realm. They might even die directly. That's why I said that martial artists below the Emperor realm will definitely die if they enter. In the second trial, you will encounter puppets with the same strength as you. You can't use any skills inside because they are puppets without souls. Skills will be ineffective. Unless you comprehend the laws of heaven and earth, you will never be able to defeat them in your lifetime. If you can't defeat them, you can forget about passing the second trial. In the third trial, I don't know what it's like because everyone who enters has died. So fierce that no one has succeeded in passing the third trial? Then how did the Flame Dragon Continent obtain so many precious and sacred weapons? Yi Qinghan asked anxiously. Yi Qingyo was both annoyed and amused as he scolded, "You idiot. After passing the third trial, that person will directly enter the small divine pavilion and obtain the treasures in the small divine pavilion. You idiot, once you pass the third trial, that person will enter the small divine pavilion and obtain the treasures in the small divine pavilion. The entire God-slaying mountain will be destroyed. As for the divine tools, as long as you enter the God-slaying mountain, you will have a chance to obtain them. Treasures will occasionally fly out from the central passageway of the God-slaying mountain. Whether you can find them or not will depend on your luck. Of course, only when the heavenly road opens will the Flame Dragon Continent organize people in the Emperor realm to search for treasures. The time limit is 10 days, and everyone will only try their luck in the first and second trials. Very few people, or even almost no one, go to the third trial. Remember, when you go to search for treasures in the future, you cannot enter the third trial. Oh, I see. It's quite fun. Little Han, work hard at cultivating. In the future, the two of us can go treasure hunting together. Yi Qingwu obviously didn't take Yi Qingyo's warning to heart and giggled. My father, how did he die back then? Yi Qinghan ignored Yi Qingwu and stared blankly at Yi Qingyo, asking about the cause of Yi Dao's death. Sigh. Your father was an idiot. Yi Qingyo shook his head helplessly and said with a sigh, Your father used his astonishing strength and the 8th grade battle beast, Draconic Lion, to make a name for himself in the chaotic prefecture battle 30 years ago. Your grandfather didn't want to allow him to participate in the treasure hunt at the God-slaying mountain 10 years ago to avoid being targeted and killed by the monster race and barbarian race. But unexpectedly, That idiot father ran out of the Yi family in the middle of the night and sneaked in the moment the path of heaven opened. In the end, he was surrounded and killed by 4 monster emperors of the monster race. When the rest of the family found him, he was already on the verge of death. So that's how it happened. Yi Qinghan nodded indifferently. He was indeed more curious about the god-slaying mountain that they would arrive at the next day. What was one of the 3 most dangerous places on the continent like? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.